session for February
So you're
7th.
gonna, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. You're gonna open the meeting and exit into executive session, and then I'm gonna stop the recording.
Great. So then can you just do the quick Zoom permission from the state,
Sure.
please?
Following guidance issued by the governor regarding the open meeting law, this public meeting will be held remote. Individuals wishing to participate may do so by using Zoom video conferencing. To join the meeting using a computer or tablet, you may use the link, and to join by phone, you may use the phone number and enter the meeting ID and passcode, and the open session is being recorded.
Great. Thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, welcome to the February 7th Dover Conservation Commission meeting. We're opening the meeting and we are now going to move into executive session. And go ahead, Lori.
You're going to take a vote to go into executive session, a roll
Sure.
call?
Okay. So let people know this is, as far as I've been on this almost 20 years, I believe this is my first executive session. So we're sort of stumbling our way through to do it correctly here. Before us is a request to go into executive session to deal with items pertaining to conservation restriction proposed for Hale Reservation. I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session. Anyone? Thank you. And do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of moving to executive session, say aye. Anna?
Aye.
Sarah? Okay.
Sorry.
Amy? Yep, got it. That was Amy.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay, with that, Mike, why don't we start with you, please?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, okay. And let me know, Lori, when everyone's in.
Looks like everyone that was in the waiting room is in.
Oh, okay. Then great. Well, welcome, folks, to the February 7th, 2024 Dover Conservation Commission hearing. And we'll open up the meeting with Lori filling us in from the governor's guidance on Zoom meetings.
Okay, following guidance issued by the governor regarding the open meeting law, public meeting will be held remotely. Individuals wishing to participate may do so using Zoom video conferencing. Use a computer or tablet, you can use the link on the agenda, and to join by phone, you can use the phone number and put in the ID and passcode listed on the agenda, and the meeting is being recorded.
Great, thank you. First up this evening is 105 Farm Street, Norden, regarding a deck. I see Steve here. Is there, Steve, do you have any engineer or anybody like that representing you, or are you doing this yourself?
Nope, just me today.
Okay. Janet, you had noted some things on your regulatory report. Can you recount or give us a summation? Oh, Janet's not there. So I saw your the plan, Steve, and I saw that you're looking. Actually, this is in essence for the air rights over the 100-foot that small triangle of the 100-foot buffer there.
Yeah.
And are you as I saw one of the elevations for the back of the house? Are you doing any of that work outside the buffer on the back of the house there? Or is it just the deck that you're doing at this point in time?
Outside the buffer, yeah. So outside the buffer, I don't know if I can share my screen or if you care to see, but basically,
I think that would be helpful if Lori could allow you to do that.
Okay, I don't see a button to do that right now, but
Oh, okay, yeah, it's just hard to find.
yeah, but yeah. So I've renovated. This is an old house from the 1800s, 1807, I think. And there's an attached barn on the what direction is this? That's the north part of the lot, closer to the stream. Um, and that attached barn, I actually finished renovating last year. I got signed off. I kind of reskinned that with a new roof and new cedar shingle siding. So now I'm moving on to the main house. I'm going to do similar, put new windows, siding, and roof on the main house. It's kind of, it's not in complete disrepair, but it needs a new facelift. So that's what I'm doing. And then as part of that, we're adding a deck in the back, which that just clips, or at least again the air rates just clip that 100-foot buffer zone. So and then in conversations with Janet, I know she had a little bit of concerns because our driveway in our barn is actually in that buffer zone. So that's where, I know I noticed a note on there saying that you don't want me to store things in the buffer zone. And I had a quick conversation with Janet, and she just asked me to bring this point up that, I think this barn has been here for hundreds of years, and this driveway has been here for a long time too. And it's my main way I operate the house is by bringing things into that garage, which is on the kind of the lower level of the barn through the driveway. And that's, I store mulch and throughout the year, different things, dirt. And then when I'm doing this renovation, I will need a place for Home Depot to deliver floor, boards for the barn and or for the deck and so forth. So I kind of do need to store some things. I'll try to be, I caused no damage with that whole barn renovation, which is in the buffer zone, and I'll try to be equally, if not more, responsible and staying away from anything coming off of the driveway. But if you notice from the survey, and again, I can share this with you on a picture, it might be helpful.
Yeah, if you could, because we're kind of blind here.
Yeah. Do you have the survey? Is that available to everyone or no?
Not generally in front of us during a meeting, but Amy, would you be able to give Steve some guidance on where he might be able to pull up his sharing? Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Share screen is in the bottom bar.
Participants record show captions, AI companion reaction settings, more.
And in between participants and summary, there isn't a little green share screen.
No, I don't think, I think maybe you'd have to grant me that.
Well, okay, yeah,
I can pull up the drawing if you want, Steve.
Oh, can you, Jim? Great.
Gonna ask if anyone had the drawing.
Yeah, if you'd, yeah, there we go. And then just slide over. Yeah. Okay, so I see where the driveway goes down and then behind the
Yeah,
barn.
this is the driveway that comes in like that, right, Steve? And then this is the corner of the deck that's in that 100.
Right, I see.
So I understand what Janet's talking about, that you are close to the edge of the wetland there.
Right. And it slopes down from there.
Yeah,
And yet that would make, and part of the reason I asked Steve about the anticipated additional work that was outside the buffer was access to going across the lawn in order to get there. And you have some steep slopes there. And how will you, and this is not showing any erosion control. Was there another plan that showed any erosion control barriers?
That was one of my recommendations, that be added to the plan.
Okay, and did you have an idea or a desire, Janet, of where that would be?
I would say since he does need to use the driveway, that would be on the wetland side of the driveway.
Okay.
Should go in.
Okay. And then as he moves away from the house, everything's moving away from the house there. So even if things were to roll downhill, they're not rolling down into the wetland. They're going down towards that interceptor drain in terms of the areas where he'll be putting the one-story addition and things of that sort. So my main concern was equipment access over the buffer to get there, and whether or not, but it would seem to me that the driveway and maybe an extension. Do you see where it says bituminous driveway? Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I was looking kind of reversed on that. So you're saying that along the bottom side of that driveway and up around to where it says the septic tank, is that where were you thinking of in terms of erosion control barriers?
Yes.
Okay. And does that seem clear, Steve, in terms of the concern that we have there? Why we would want that?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Can you hear me now? I lost audio for a minute.
Yeah, no, we got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I'm happy to do that.
Okay. And that would be something that you would meet with Janet and basically walk exactly where she wanted that. And it's basically to avoid typically with some of the intense storms, we're having something that's been delivered or work that's being done in this disturbed area that then gets washed down into the wetlands. And the erosion control barrier blocks that from getting into the wetlands. Janet, do you want to go over anything else on this?
Yeah, just real quickly. So Steve had approached us. Again, it's just a tiny bit of actual work in the buffer, but how the wetland is situated and erosion controls needed, I felt at least an RDA was required. So my recommendation is the erosion control go in. I will inspect that. I also wanted to confirm with Lori that we had received the abutter notifications. Is that correct?
Yes, I have those, and
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
That wasn't in with the application. And then, so the only thing we need from Steve at this point is for him, and I told him he could hand draw the erosion control line along the wetland edge and then through that curve. If he could hand draw that onto a site plan and resubmit that to the office, that should be fine.
Well, do we want that on the wetland edge or on the driveway edge?
Do you want it between the driveway and the wetlands, Janet?
Yes, so on the lawn side of the driveway. Yeah. And then pulling it around to the edge, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And are there any specific, do you have any specific specs on that? I know it said filter mitt, but does that have, I know they can come in 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch. Is there any specifics you need on
Yeah, we usually see between 8 and 10, and I can send you the specs on that and also a good source where you can find that.
Great, thank you.
So I do recommend approval, just pending submittal of that revised site plan, but and then with 7 specific conditions. We did not receive the DEP wetland data forms, so one of the conditions is that we are not actually approving the wetland line.
And okay. Okay, then any commissioners, any questions? And residents or anyone else on the meeting, any questions on this?
Oh, John, I'm sorry.
Yep.
The other thing is, so special condition number 4 should be revised. So it should read, all materials and equipment shall be stored on the side of the driveway away from the wetlands during construction installation.
Okay, as much as it's practicable.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I will entertain a motion then to grant the negative determination. Anyone want to so move?
So moved.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Sarah?
Yes.
or actually, do I have to, do I close the hearing for an RDA? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so, sorry, let's back up and close the hearing. So I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close the hearing.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. All in favor? Sarah,
Aye.
Jim,
I,
Anna?
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
myself. Let's go back and remove the issuance, the negative determination. Please.
Move to issue a negative determination for 105 Farm Street with Janet's special conditions.
Second.
Great. Thank you. All in favor? Sarah,
Aye.
Jim,
I,
Anna?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, great. Good luck,
Thank you.
Steve.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's see, then, moving on to 31 Springdale. William Mitchell.
Present.
Boy, when are you gonna get electricity there?
Soon enough.
No, it's just the way the lighting is. We can't see your face.
No, I'm actually out on business right now. Let me turn
Yeah.
this up. I'm
Oh,
out,
there you
out
go.
of town on
Oh,
business.
yeah. Okay, Janet, why don't you fill us in on this?
So we had issued an enforcement order, work had begun, on the driveway, and some other work. It looks to me like a vernal pool. It's a very small pond. There's also BVW, and this work is extremely close to it. Will submitted this determination of applicability in response to that enforcement order. Unfortunately, I did not have a chance to go out and do a site inspection, but I would like to do that, to schedule that with Will. There's an
Sure.
extra curb cut here that is very close to the wetlands.
I'm
And
sorry, you dropped out there, Janet. There's a what?
there's a new curb cut very close to the wetlands.
Oh, okay.
just as an aside here, Will, you came before us before for the fence and shed and gravel pad.
Yeah.
So when you did that, you had a set of drawings. I asked
Yeah.
Lori to pull up that set of drawings. You've also supplied the right side, that the stuff we're looking at now.
Yeah.
During the whole construction process, I did ask Janet to go out and take a look at the tree cutting, some other stuff. Now, I asked Lori to pull the old drawings today. So
Mhm.
most of the work is within 50 feet and well within 100 feet. And I'd
Mhm.
really like to go back and address all of it as a whole, not just piecemeal. And to be honest, I'd like to see a new determination of wetland lines, because it looks to me like you hydroseeded in the BVW and cut trees in the BVW. And I know we're looking at the driveway, and there's also seems to be a point discharge into the potential vernal pool there that I'd like to get addressed as well. It looks like you took a roof drain down into the pool there, and we don't permit that.
So, Jim, is this based on a plan that you have in front of you?
Yeah,
or
I'm
is it
happy
more-
to share it. I'm happy to share it. So
Yeah, because I just have one from the original.
yeah, and that one was from this plan,
Mhm.
which was for a septic system, which I assume was done prior to Will's purchase.
Mhm.
So this was the original side here. We approved the shed here,
Mhm.
all that
Right.
stuff, which actually was inside the 100-foot buffer,
Mhm.
and well within the 200-foot for the stream.
Mhm.
And then, but in the back here, here's the 25-foot buffer, and this is all now lawn. Is that right, Will? You've cut that back quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was lawn before. I just redid the hydro seeding.
Right.
So we can see the tree line there.
Yeah, but I think
yeah.
there's been some trees come out of there, and I know there's been some cutting here in the front, because if you look at the front here, I mean, the edge of your garage is at the 25 line.
Yeah.
Which
So
is always the.
The 50's here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No disturb, right? So you
And
put
the
in another cut here,
Yeah, just
approximately.
as a proposal.
Well,
Yeah,
it's already
as
done.
a proposal.
Yeah.
What's that?
So-
What's that, Jim?
So, I mean, you've already cleared a bunch of stuff in this area and got equipment laying right up against it. I know there's a few bit of grass left, but not much. And then there's a
Yeah,
pipe
no, it
that
was
comes out of
it
here
was
and goes into this potential vernal pool here.
Mhm.
And I don't want to be the skunk at the party, but this, you have this drawing. And it's frustrating to me that we're seeing little bits of it at a time. It's frustrating to me that we're having a discussion about this side now and the work's already complete or being completed, because this is all now hydroseeded and cleaned up and everything else. And I get it. I totally get it. I really do. I just,
So
It's
I
not-
think, so my understanding is that the building footprint is the same footprint that when you bought the property. Is that correct, Will?
Mhm.
So the garage, you
Yeah.
haven't added on to the garage at all, or have you?
No.
Okay, and the discharge that Jim's talking about, is that, Jim, is that a roof drain or?
I think so.
what-
Yeah. It looks like a piece of the 4-inch green hard.
Right.
Yeah, I'll have to check with the contractor that did that and see what
Mhm.
his thinking was there.
So basically a downspout, is that, or is it a sump
Yeah.
pump?
It just looks like a roof drain.
Mhm,
Just
okay.
went to daylight, which makes sense, but we don't really
Mhm.
allow point discharge.
Yeah, no, I'll have to talk to the contractor and see what his thinking was.
Okay. And
But I
then
mean-
the driveway that's noted here, we see the existing curb opening. And are you requesting a curb opening that's further to the right there?
I'm requesting that just because it's a really small driveway, and the only way to turn around with my truck is to back out onto Springdale, which with the truck, is pretty tough, and it's kind of a blind corner with some of the vegetation to the right there. So I put it in the plan to see if it would be approved to get a second curb cut, so we could have a way in and out of the driveway without having to back out onto Springdale.
So that turnout that goes towards the pond there, see where it's the 120 elevation there? Yeah, exactly. Does that not give you the ability to back into that and then go nose out to the street?
It's pretty tight. I mean, my truck's 22 feet long, and then the driveway is 2 9-foot doors, so it's only about, I would say, 20 feet wide. So it's, kind of a square peg in a round hole type scenario.
So then what you're asking for in terms of the curb cut is not shown on this particular plan.
It's on the plan I submitted. I think Jim
Yeah, hold
was
on, let me
looking
see
at
if I can pull that up.
Okay.
he was looking at the whole plan.
Hold on 1 second. Let me stop sharing this one. Sorry, I was still on 105.
So Jim, earlier you said, I get it to Will, like, so, but what does that mean?
I understand what he wants to do. I just,
Right, but to me, it's, if he's done stuff that he's not supposed to do.
Right.
You shouldn't get it.
right. No,
So
and
I don't mean to put you under the bus, but I'm just trying to be
no,
clear.
no, and that's the thing is, and I don't want, like I said, I don't want to be the skunk at the party, right? But that thing is, it's in the 25, right?
Yeah.
And we really 50 is kind of our, so, well, 70, right? Is
Yeah, I mean, I think the trade-off, Jim, is I'm putting in a permeable surface where there was previously asphalt, and I'm not
What's the
encroaching
surface?
on the wetlands.
What's
Sorry,
the
what's that,
sur-
Jim?
What's the surface?
That I'm putting in?
Mhm.
Just crushed stone.
Yeah, that fills in and doesn't stay permeable for long. So, I
Oh.
just, and I get it, and I, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Janet, so part of this, it's interesting, Jim, when you can you back out a little bit on this plan? So I think there were two separate things going on. The stuff over to the left we addressed in a previous filing. The
Right,
septic was addressed in a filing prior to that.
right,
This is actually coming under an enforcement order originally because work was started, and it's interesting because this is a different buffer zone than what the left side of the house buffer zone was dealing with. You know, so it's
Well,
and
yeah,
yeah, I mean, in essence, the wetlands
but I never see the 100 foot from the backside, John. And I did take some pictures today,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
it's just with a scale, and it's pretty close. I mean, the 100 foot comes all the way back up to the house.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just, it's a hard house, right? It's a hard spot to be in, and it's a
Oh,
hard,
yeah, it's a little hummock of dry land.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's been there for 200 years.
Right, exactly. And
Right.
that's the whole thing.
So which is why we're willing to grant certain waivers.
Right.
But I think the idea of fleshing this out so that more of this is thought out ahead of time rather than done on the fly.
Right.
Is that what I'm getting from you, Jim?
Yeah, I think I totally get wanting to be able to turn your car around. I totally do.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I understand that. I don't know that 4 granite posts are gonna give you a lot of room to get out. You know what I mean? Cause so
Mhm.
you're gonna be 10 feet, what, like a 12-foot opening on the granite posts?
Well,
Yeah, I was just gonna keep whatever the existing driveway width was. I don't.
But I mean,
It's
it doesn't
10,
look like
12
you're
feet.
expanding the driveway, right? I mean, you're pulling it closer to the
I'm
house.
pulling the driveway closer to the house. Yeah.
and that's what will give you the ability to, you think, turn around, or you're still gonna have to do a 3-point or a 4-point turn there?
Still several points, and then with the big truck, it's still looking at backing out onto the busy
Mhm.
road.
So coming into the right hand, the side that's the requested curb cut on the right side.
Yep.
You basically would come in with your truck, turn it to the left towards the house, and then back it up into
And be able
towards the garage, and then
Yeah, or
come
just
out.
be able to essentially just pull through
Yeah, I don't think you'd
the
have the
existing
radius.
opening.
I would question whether you have the turning radius to make a just do a circle, a U-turn in there.
Yeah.
With a 22-foot long truck. So I guess, so part of this is the existing driveway does go over to basically where the 120-foot grade line is there. That turnout there is currently existing. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's asphalt.
Okay. And then you're looking to basically pull up some of the asphalt that's there now and replace that with gravel. Put a
Mhm.
stone wall so that you don't, when you're making that turn back out to the street, you don't go into the house. And what other stuff? You're looking at draining some of the roof drains, the roof off somewhere there, which I think is a reasonable question. I don't know if that
Yeah.
if that existed prior. I assume you had downspouts there beforehand? Or
Yeah,
maybe not.
they were just we had downspouts and they were just kind of discharged everywhere randomly.
And have you tied them all in? Are they coming out at a single point, or what?
No, we're still dealing with a lot of the old gutters, so we're not really gonna be able to do any downspout rerouting at least until the summer.
And so typically, the way things we've been operating for many years at this point is we have downspouts go directly into the ground and recharge. You have a shallow stone-filled chamber. It's called a Caltech.
Mhm.
And you
Okay.
now the interesting thing here is your water table. How high does that come up?
I don't know. In the eastern portion of the house, that basement is an 8-foot basement. So, and there's no groundwater. So, it's
Okay,
probably
you're
close
lucky.
to that, but we haven't.
Okay.
We
So
haven't found any
that means
groundwater.
that bodes well for being able to put a Caltech in, where you would direct several of the roof drains would go into that rather than discharging directly into the pond, to the side there. Janet, you're based on some of the things that Jim has brought up. What's your take on what's been going on here and what you would like to see?
Yeah, so I think the next step is to do a site inspection with
Mhm.
Will and really look holistically that everything that's gone on here.
Mhm.
But I do not recall any time where we've granted waivers under an RDA. So I am thinking that this is the cumulative effect here of everything that needs to be addressed is probably more likely to require an NOI. But I would like to go out to the site. I'll let the commissioners know, and Jim in particular, it'd be good if you could join us.
Sure.
Mhm.
And you know, I totally, like, I don't know that it's gonna rise to an NOI, to be honest, right? I mean, it's really not you're not changing the footprint of the house, we're not increasing square footage in the wetland, and if we can come up with a surface appropriate, you know, a permeable surface, I don't know that putting in that second cut is gonna go, because you're really up against the edge of the wetland. I mean, it's not even BBW, you're at the wetland, you're on the bank essentially. So
Mhm.
I'd look at that.
So that, well, I guess I think part of that with the site visit, with Janet and yourself, a lot of this is to try to go over and figure out all the things that you're hoping to do, and maybe
Right.
even bring up things that you may not have thought yet, so that
Yeah,
we
yeah,
avoid
I-
the piece
let's do it
we
one
avoid the
time.
we avoid the piecemeal concept of this.
Right.
Yeah,
And
well, I
then
mean, my biggest concern at the moment is just, you know, we stopped the work and we have to ideally do this stone wall that's, you know, about 2 to 3 feet from the existing foundation, just to A, be able to retain that foundation, and, you know, B, just as soon as we can come to a consensus about what to do with that driveway surface, just so we can, you know, kind of get our cars, be able to park somewhere safe, and, you know, take care of kind of some of the muddy issues we're having nowadays, that it's 60 degrees and raining constantly in the middle of the winter. But that's, you know, kind of my short-term goal.
well, and I think what we want to do is figure out what the long-term goal is, so that we don't have to keep coming back for multiple things. And I don't think you have that much. I mean, granted, you have a whole bunch of stuff to do on the inside, but on the outside, let's work with Janet and Jim to say what it is you're planning to do and what you'd like to do, and how that runs into what our regulations are. We have a grandfathering law that also requires waivers. Something that's been there for 200 years certainly qualifies. Let's see what's going on there, and my concern about the driveway is that may not solve what you're looking to do. So let's get some measurements in there and make sure that it's appropriate. It may be better if you need to just widen the existing opening just a bit. But you're so tight to the actual BVW that you may not be able to do everything. So, and you also have potential parking for a truck over on the other side, given the access you have there. I just think a couple extra eyes on the scene would be helpful. I assume you'd be looking at doing that sometime next week, Janet. Is that correct?
Yes, yep.
Okay. So the idea is not to hold you up too much, but just let's get it in an organized fashion, so that there's a storyboard on how this is going to be worked out. Okay. So why don't we keep this as is currently in front of us as an RDA, but let's continue that to our next meeting, and hopefully you'll have you'll have a fruitful meeting next week. Any other questions concerning this?
I just had two other questions. I put in my notes that the certified abutters list from the assessors was not attached, and your affidavit of service was not attached. Did we receive?
Yeah, I just sent it to Lori. I sent it to Lori just now, so she should have it.
Okay, so it hadn't. So you just like now, not earlier.
Just at the beginning of the
it was,
meeting. Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
It was received after the original application, which is often the case because the abutter notifications are done, after.
Okay. Okay, so you have that.
I have
Anything
it,
else,
yeah.
Janet? Anything else?
And then the other, the other issue with RDAs versus NOIs is really an RDA, there's virtually no follow-up oversight by the commission. We really have no authority to follow up.
Mhm.
And so the previous determination for the work on the left side, we did require signage and bounds, and that was.
Mhm.
So I'll go over that with Will, but I'd like to see those go in as soon as possible.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I think part of it is our follow-up on if this were to stay in RDA. Our follow-up is the fact that this is a very easily seen by all commissioners location. And so let's just try to tighten things up here. So I appreciate that. Okay, then if you can ask send an email to Lori, Will, please requesting continuance to our next meeting, please. Okay, thank you. Okay. Let's see, moving on, we have a minor modification for Aquarian, a restoration plan. Janet, why don't you fill us in on this?
right, so Aquarian was just in for with an NOI application. You approved that. The order of condition has been issued. There was one outstanding issue. When I was out doing my inspection, there was quite a large swale that it was not clear. It was not a drainage swale. It was just a very large hole, very close to the wetlands. We discussed it, and Aquarian agreed to submit a restoration plan. They have done that. That was submitted to us. And I think what they have proposed makes sense. They're going to fill it with gravel, regrade, put down erosion control matting until vegetation can be well established. They'll also put in erosion control as close to the work as possible. So that's all on a site plan. I did not yet get a hard copy of that. Lori, did we get the hard copies in the office on that?
We got the hard copies and he mailed them overnight. The overnight envelope said, I don't know, January something, but I didn't get them till yesterday.
Okay.
So I don't know what happened. Well, I do know what happened. They were stamped, received by the treasurers. So they went there first. And I think by the time they went through their mail, that was the delay. So it wasn't there when you went to pick up your other stuff, but it was mailed overnight by the applicant. So.
Okay. Is anyone on here from Aquarian? I think
He
they
was
were.
on.
Yeah, Amanda.
Oh,
Amanda.
okay.
Oh,
Okay.
you know, we're not, for some reason, I don't know if it's your mic. You look like you're unmuted, but we're not hearing you. And now you're muted. Yeah. And I don't know if it's a USB or if it's a Bluetooth, but maybe the equivalent, whatever unplugging is.
Is it working now?
There we go. Yep.
Okay, sorry,
Great.
it was just not going through. So you can hear me now.
Yes,
correct?
we can.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'm with Aquarian Water Company. Sorry about that. My name's Amanda.
And yeah, so I guess Jan, you had a question about for Aquarian?
No, I think their plan, I just wanted to make sure we had received the hard copies, which Lori just confirmed. I have reviewed the restoration plan. I'd recommend it be approved as a minor modification. And then I will work with them to get that work done as soon as possible. I know we're going to be having some warm weather, so I'd like to have this done as soon as possible. So we can just be in touch, Amanda, and work on that time
Yeah,
frame.
great. Yeah, we already have a couple contractors we're going to reach out to for the quote to get that work done, because I know we put March 30th as the date. We definitely want to get it done, before then, hopefully well before then. So,
Mhm.
Great.
Okay,
So there are
Uh,
just two special conditions with that. One is our standard erosion control. And then the second is that prior to beginning any work, they'll contact me for an inspection.
okay.
we saw that.
Okay, so then I'll entertain a motion to grant the minor modification.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second? Thank you. All in favor? Sarah?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Jim? Still can't hear you. Huh. And myself. So granted. Okay. Thank you. Thanks,
Th-
Amanda.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
You
Night.
too.
Okay, then we have a notice of intent for Buttercup Lane for septic system and McIntyre Engineering. Janet, why don't you give us a rundown?
So this is a septic replacement. This is one of the more challenging sites I have seen. This lot drops off dramatically. There really is no location except for that being proposed as far away from the wetlands as possible. Because of the site conditions, they are needing 4 waivers, actually 3 waivers. One is to allow the wetland delineation after December 1st, disturbance in the 50-foot no disturb setback, and that is just temporary disturbance to be able to excavate and put in the septic pump and chamber. And then a portion of the septic system itself is within the 70-foot no structure setback. It is in an area where the previous system had been. There are some tree removals, but Dan has indicated he did an analysis. It's not more than 50% removal. And Dan is also, on behalf of the applicant, requesting a waiver of the waiver fees.
Okay. And it would seem to me that given the lot issues and the fact that this is a grandfathered situation, and that there's nowhere else, no alternatives here, I think a waiver of the fees is appropriate. Any commissioners have any thoughts otherwise? Okay. And Jen, is there anything else that, let's see, I think.
I am on the line, Dan McIntyre.
Yeah, no, see you then. Yeah. And why don't you give us can you pull up a plan and just give us a quick overview here?
Sure. Everyone see that plan?
Yes.
Okay. So to orientate you, over on the left-hand side is Buttercup Lane. That's a paved private road. 9 Buttercup is a home that was constructed in 1960. The well is right over here by the side of the garage up the top of the page. There are currently 2 existing systems. Down at this corner of the house, there's a septic tank and a leach pit. Both are just outside the 50-foot, but within the 70-foot no structure. And then there is a second cesspool here, which takes the kitchen flow into that cesspool. What we are proposing is to eliminate that cesspool, tie the kitchen into the plumbing, install new tanks over where the existing tank is. One is a septic tank, one will be a pump tank to pump it up to a new septic system in the kind of the front side yard here. The 100-foot buffer is right where my hand is coming through there. So about half of the leach field will be in the buffer zone, half will be outside the buffer zone. We think that's a significant improvement over the leach pit and the cesspool that are closer to the wetlands. We did have the wetlands delineated by Goddard Consulting, as shown back here. When our surveyors went out, we found some additional flags as well that were done for filing at number 7 Buttercup, probably a year ago or so. And then further back here, there's a pond that all this wetland is associated with on the 7 Buttercup property. This, as Janet mentioned, this area back here, very steep slope. When they built the house, they had to actually build a retaining wall along the back to have some semblance of a level area right behind the house. All of this buffer zone is wooded, undisturbed. We are proposing erosion controls that consist of both the compost sock tube backed up with silt fence, which we think is appropriate in this case, given the steepness of the slope, at least where we're building the tanks in this area here. We are taking down a total of 14 trees. 8 will be in the buffer zone, and 6 are outside the buffer zone up in here. This area, it was hard to say whether it was disturbed before or not. We had to make some judgment call on that. There's some remnants of lawn among the trees up in here, so some of this might have been lawn at one point. I'm not really sure. But at least some of this was previously disturbed. On the slope that we're creating here, where we're taking down trees, we're proposing to put back kind of some shrubs in a mulch area on that slope rather than lawn. The lawn would be relegated up to the flat area up here. Construction access will be directly off Buttercup Lane, which is outside the buffer zone, and there'll also be some access off the driveway here as well.
Okay.
And I think that pretty much described it. If you want to have any questions, we are proposing also, we are proposing 2 wetland markers. We are proposing them, one right here by the tanks, and then another one over here by a set of steps that goes down into the woods here. We thought those 2 areas were appropriate and would be good locations where people could actually see them in the future.
Okay. And Janet, any other questions?
Yes, so I had recommended our standard compost sock, silt fence, and orange construction fence in front of the compost sock. Dan came back with a question about really needing the orange construction fence and why is it in front of the compost sock? And we have been requiring that, Dan. It serves no purpose for the erosion control except to let people know the erosion control's there so they don't run over it or disturb it, which I have seen a lot. It doesn't serve any purpose for erosion control per se, but especially on a lot like this, there's going to be a lot of activity, and I would strongly suggest the orange construction fence in front of the erosion control.
I saw that request, Dan, and I so 2 minds of it. Number one, it's as a builder, I've used that more and more frequently because workers they don't seem to think things through anymore. And so, like Janet, I've seen people drive right up with a bobcat in this situation or a backhoe and run right over the erosion control. The silt fence will be helpful. One of the options in that you're concerned about reusing the construction fence. I just, I have somebody, we pull it out, we shake it out, and we reuse it. We don't normally, if somebody damaged it, then that's exactly what its use was for. But I find it's able to be shaken out and reused. The other option, possibly, but I prefer the construction fencing. And I know this is the only reason I'm giving it any consideration is this is such a tight site that even 2 feet further away from the erosion control, I can understand would make it subject to damage, but that's kind of its purpose. And so one option might be to have orange silt fencing to try to.
We changed the detail to add the construction fencing in. We understand that argument.
Okay.
I just had not seen it in front of the erosion controls. I was just concerned that construction fencing, as Janet points out, isn't really an erosion control feature. I just didn't want it to affect the effectiveness of the real this compost tube and the silt fence that we really need to stop the siltation here, because we will get some soil running down that slope toward this, and I just want to make sure that we don't do anything that's going to reduce the effectiveness of the erosion controls. But if the commission has seen this before and they're happy with it, I'm not going to argue the point.
Okay, great. Then yeah, then we don't need to. I appreciate that because it's at this point it's become an anti-bozo fence because I think it's been more helpful than not. And Janet, was there a second question?
There was an issue about, on the site plans, the sequence indicated that the trees would come down before erosion control goes in. And I do understand that the tree removal process could negatively impact the erosion control. On the other hand, we haven't allowed that before. I would prefer to see the erosion control go in and then the site work begins, including the tree removals. So that's my recommendation for the sequencing.
And
Dan, is that clear, or do you have an exception?
That's clear. I just, again, it's I don't want the homeowner to have to pay for erosion control twice.
No, I normally try to avoid that, but of course, depending on the supervision of the tree removal, this is the dangerous point where, if there's stumping and so forth, where there could be things.
The construction sequence specifically says no stumping, just felling of the trees.
But what are you gonna? You can't leave stumps in your septic field, right?
Oh no, but the sequence is cut the trees, install the erosion controls, and then start stumping.
Oh, I see. So basically, you'll come in, cut them at the base, and then move it from there.
Just as they would if it was a dead tree. They wouldn't put all this erosion control up, I wouldn't think.
Okay, I understand. Given the layout of that particular lot and the slope there and everything, I think that's a reasonable, well supervised way to sequence. So I don't know who would be supervising the tree. And this is the problem with things like this. There's usually not a contractor who's overseeing everything, and as the tree company's coming in, taking the trees out, and then the septic, the excavator comes in to do the septic system. Is there anybody reviewing all of that while it's happening?
Probably not. You're exactly right. It's two separate contractors. The tree contractor is going to come in first, and then the septic contractor will mobilize.
So is there a way to ensure that the tree contractor, and this may be a few extra billable hours on your end with the with the homeowner, but somebody needs to be explaining to the tree contractor why they shouldn't be letting things fall, towards the wetlands and so forth, supervise them to a certain extent. It shouldn't take long because there aren't that many for a decent sized tree contractor. Is that something that you think you could arrange?
I think it is. Yeah, we could do that.
So
again, I'm not the construction manager, so the homeowner is managing the tree removal, and the septic contractors come in and manage that. So again, if the commission feels more comfortable putting the erosion controls up first, you know, I'll defer to your good judgment on that.
Well, it's ironically, the potential cost of having to do parts of the erosion control twice probably equals what your extra hours of supervision would be to avoid it happening once. And
Okay.
so there's no free lunch. So I'm yeah, that's my concern, is just these
Okay.
disparate contractors and nobody has the whole picture. And usually in homeowners, you know, the tree guys are not going to listen to a homeowner. I think given that, I think then
I'll
proceeding.
adjust the sequence accordingly.
Yeah, either, well, before I don't want to speak for Janet, but it seems like the best thing to do would be to put the erosion control in first, and then the tree guys may think about not dropping things on it. And if you could and make that clear to the homeowner. The only issue I see is that then they have to weave this in and around existing trees.
Yes.
But they're outside of where the trees are actually getting cut, so it should be doable.
I think we can make it work.
Okay, then then we'll go ahead and continue with it per Janet's recommendation. Janet, anything else you'd like to bring to the board's attention?
No, I think Dan's addressed all the other issues. I have 12 special conditions. And also the commission, before you vote on the actual NOI, you will need to approve 4 of the waivers.
Mm-hmm. And let's see, I'm just looking for, okay, so those waivers are on your regulatory report. So 5 is not required. So I will entertain a motion to grant the waiver requests as noted. Let's see, what was the in addition to and also waiving the waiver request fees at the same time.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Amy gave us a silent second. Okay, all in favor. Amy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Thank you. And I'm an aye as well. Okay. Thanks. And if you can just coordinate with Janet, please, as you move forward.
We did have a couple questions on the conditions though.
Okay, that's, yeah, well, we haven't actually closed that out and voted for that.
Right. Okay.
Well, if you have questions, let's address them before we close the hearing on that.
Yeah, if we could. I wasn't sure if you had to make a motion for the conditions first or.
We would incorporate those into the motion, but if by all means, we want to address them first.
I guess one is as I mentioned, we placed concrete bound markers with signs in 2 locations.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we provided enough information on the plan to hopefully for you to review that and approve it now, so the contractor can order those signs and install those bounds while they're on the site.
Mm-hmm.
What we found on a couple of past jobs that the condition states that we have to come back and get approval of those signs.
Mm-hmm.
And it tends to slip through the cracks. It doesn't become anybody's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can get those signs approved early, we can put it in the contractor's scope and make sure it gets done.
Janet, do you see, since you're going to be out there before the beginning of things starting, do you see an issue with that?
No, I would prefer, I did not review in detail the location of those. And those are
Okay.
the ones with the signage on them. Is that right, Dan?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you can, prior to typically you're going to be out there as a pre-construction meeting. That would seem to be the time to, walk around, and you have nice landmarks there with the wall in the back and the stairs where
Yes.
you're proposing to put those. So that should be easy to see where they're going to go.
Yeah, Dan, I'm looking at those right now. Those 2 locations with the bound and the signage, those look fine. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. Thank you. Other questions, Dan?
There was another condition for a third sign about the no de-icing salt and herbicides and pesticides. That tends to be a bit of a concern for most homeowners I work with, depending on where that sign goes.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a sense of where that needs to go?
Janet, well, the nice thing is that's an easy sign to put in, but do you have a chance to take a quick glance at that, Janet, or is that something you can determine at your site visit?
Yeah, I think maybe we can address that at the site visit, but the driveway is outside the buffer zone, so and then there is not much lawn. So I actually think we could eliminate that requirement. Number 3, we could eliminate that special condition.
Okay. They didn't even have to ask her, Dan.
No dumping, no disturbance, no dumping, and then the permanent bound.
Okay. Any other concerns about conditions, Dan?
I should probably quit while I'm ahead. But my last one was the monthly reports.
Yeah.
This is, kind of a short duration septic install project, and then there's a long period where we're just waiting for the grass to grow and the seed to come up. And it's an easy violation if we forget to submit a monthly report.
So we don't, it's, the homeowner can, or you can just, it's just a 2-sentence, if nothing happens, just a 2-sentence thing, email to Lori, to say, nothing's happened, but it keeps everybody on top of things, so that things don't languish. And so we found it to be really helpful.
All right, I'll quit while I'm ahead then.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Move to close the hearing.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in
Sorry, I
favor?
couldn't
Amy?
get my cursor fast enough.
Amy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Yes, aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, entertain a motion to grant the order of conditions as noted, with the per the items outlined in the regulatory review, accepting, which number was it?
3.
Accepting item number 3.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Amy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. We'll drop off some hard copies with those changes that we discussed with Lori.
Excellent. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Night. Let's see. Then we have continued notices. 15 Wilsondale has notified us that they have asked for an additional continuance. So next up is 74 Farm Street, Solitude Lake Management, regarding the invasives control on the pond. Let's see, Janet, why don't you bring us up to date, please?
So this, we had opened this hearing previously. There were some issues. The pond is owned by 3 individual property owners. And I think the homeowner, the applicant on this needed to touch base with those 2 property owners. And there was just a little bit of confusion. So I think they're back before us. We got some additional information from the applicant's representative. This is a proposal for a continued aquatic management program at Lyman Pond. I think it goes back at least 15 years. I will say that the previous order of condition was approved before I was agent. And I've taken, I think, perhaps a renewed look at how the pond has been managed. Also taking into consideration the most recent current scientific information on use of herbicides to control invasives. There certainly is a trend to looking at more looking at these issues more holistically. The commission has had a long period where we simply do not allow herbicides or pesticides. We also encourage only organic fertilizers. That is both on land and in wetland resource areas. You do have a provision for a waiver on this, but generally our approach has been that we want to see non-chemical strategies used before you approve a waiver to allow chemicals. In particular, your two most recent aquatic invasive projects at Channing Pond, which was done by Park and Rec. That was a hydro raking effort to address invasives. No chemicals were requested to be applied. And that has been a fairly successful program so far. Also, more recently, Ted Ladd on Claybrook Road came in for a permit to address invasives in an inlet of Charles River. Again, the strategy there was to use hydro raking to control the invasives, and there was no chemical application requested. As you'll recall, we had two wetland scientists from Beals and Thomas use that. A non-chemical approach was their basis as an ecological restoration project. So my concerns that I submitted to both the applicant and their representative was perhaps this is a good time to review options, non-chemical options, to try to control invasives in the pond. And so that is my recommendation.
Okay. Let's see, I'm just pulling things up. So basically that's different than what Solitude was proposing. And I imagine Dominic and Chris, and is there anyone else, any other abutters on tonight? So as Janet, I think Janet was pretty clear in outlining that, and you saw the letter from the Charles River Watershed Association. And what we've been running into actually is mechanical stuff seems to be more effective, where people come back to us fewer times, compared to chemical treatment. This is a situation where this has been treated chemically for 15 years or possibly longer, and you're always coming back to us to treat it. And it's shallow ponds like this that seem to avail themselves very easily to mechanical removal. So what do you have to say, Dom?
Yeah. Thank you. So just
does Solitude do mechanical removal?
So just so you all know, we did the mechanical work at Channing Pond, and we've been doing the work at Mr. Ladd's residence for many years.
Okay.
So, mechanical hydro raking is a great technique, especially like for the case of Channing Pond, where you're kind of initiating a management program. The pond is really severely grown in with vegetation, and it's just a real benefit to being able to take out dense water lilies and take out the root systems. But to be honest, and I spoke with our folks that had worked on that project, and that there have already been and there were originally discussions with the Parks and Rec department about following up the hydro raking project with maintenance herbicide treatments. So I definitely sounds like that was not in the original NOI, but that was kind of in the long-term kind of outlook for management of Channing Ponds. In terms of the Ladd residence, that site is just not very suitable for a herbicide type treatment. It's moving water. It's a river system. It's impossible to keep any kind of herbicide in contact with the plants for very long. I think what I keep coming back to in my mind is, we have been managing Lyman ponds. We're not for many years. I mean, at least 15 years. I went back through some of our old records, and probably it looks like we had done some work there, and I think we might have even done some hydro raking there early on in the late 90s on this pond. And after I'm done, I mean, Mr. Flynn, I believe, has some photos, but I think that this is, we don't treat the whole pond every year. We don't even necessarily treat every year. This is really kind of a maintenance approach. And I think the pond has been really in beautiful condition, and the residents and the abutters here can talk about some of the wildlife they've seen, and Mr. Flynn will have some pictures for us too later to show, how ecologically thriving the pond really is. We again, we do our company does hydro raking, we do mechanical harvesting. Obviously we do herbicide treatments, we do diver hand pulling. I mean, we do all these non-chemical techniques. We're very up to speed on them. We're very up to speed on the industry of lake management as well, part of a lot of different industry groups. On this size pond and the state that we're at, the herbicides really are the most cost-effective management option. Here, it is a relatively large pond, so manual kind of hand pulling is really a very difficult technique to try to do over a large area. Mechanical hydro raking has a lot of other types of potential impacts. We're removing vegetation, you have to get the machines in, you have to get the material out. So there's other impacts. I think, again, I just keep coming back to the fact that the pond is in beautiful shape because of this management program, because it's ongoing. We're kind of doing a minimal amount of treatment every year, as opposed to letting the pond go for a number of periods of years and coming back with kind of a major project. I think it's, an element of integrated pest management to keep a monitoring program, keeping things in check on an ongoing basis is really, I think, important. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. I don't know if Chris, if you want to say anything or show some pictures.
Sure. I'm glad to add a few comments, and
Sure.
I did compile a handful of photos. I have no idea how to share my screen, so if somebody could either enable that or walk me through it, I'd be glad to share a few photos. I guess I didn't really prepare any remarks, but I'll highlight somewhat where I started on the last meeting. Is I'm in a state of confusion. This is one of the most beautiful ponds that I've seen in Dover. It's the reason I bought the house that I live in. I spend a significant amount of time here. If whoever's monitoring this can enable me to share my screen, I'd show you some of the photos.
Lori, do you have the ability to, have you opened them up, Lori?
Have I opened up the photos?
Yeah, no, does he have the ability to share?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay,
Chris,
so I just hit share screen? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so you guys can see these?
Yep.
I hope. All right, so a lot of these shots are from these are all shot from my cell phone, and they're just random days throughout the various seasons. But as you can see, a lot of the concerns, at least that I heard of, overgrowth or issues with chemicals affecting wildlife. Obviously, from the photos you see, none of that is true. We have ducks, we have beavers, we have snakes. I wish we could get rid of the beavers, but I don't touch them per the rules. But you can see here, this is a gorgeous pond, and I just bought this house in 2020. I tested my water levels. Obviously, I drink the water. It's on a well. I would not be asking Dominic to put chemicals in a pond if it's tainting the water that I'm drinking and feeding my children. I just feel like this is a program that's worked for 15 years. I let the application lapse, I think, because I didn't understand what I was doing. So sorry, Fred. And then thanks, this happened with COVID. I think that's the only reason we have to come back here formally and redo the entire application, was just a lapse in my, as I understand it, maybe I'm wrong. But I'll send it. I'll just be simple. If these photos mean that this pond isn't being well maintained and taken care of, if that means this is wrong, then I guess I'll quote the line. I don't want to be right. This makes no sense to me. This is a gorgeous pond. We pay for this out of our own pocket. And again, Dominic is the expert. Janet referenced 2 other projects that Dominic's running on. Okay, so there's one guy here in the room that actually knows how these things work across a variety of optionality, and I don't understand why 2 can go left where Dominic's the expert, but when Dominic's picking this path on this one's how Dominic's wrong. So I'll just leave it at that. I appreciate you letting me share the photos and have the conversation. You know, I live here, so I'm very, very focused on the pond, and I want the treatments to be done as they've been done, which is very minimally, and including the, you know, maintaining the wildlife, which is, again, why Fred and I live there, and whomever bought the property over on 68. So I'll leave it at that and be quiet. If folks have any questions for me, I'm glad to answer any.
Okay.
Add one. This is Fred Lane. I bought the house at 72 in 2009, and I couldn't echo more positively the comments that Chris has made. The pond is absolutely a fantastic resource, and I will say I think we've done minimal treatment to it, and I think that's exactly what we should be doing. And I think this, you know, the hydro weeding approach, which is basically mechanical pulling of weeds, you know, it's easily 300 yards or 250 yards from the street down to the pond. So we would be going through logically my property. That's perhaps.
Thanks, Fred.
Perhaps 74, and then they'd be hauling away materials, and I just don't see. I mean, my view is, unless there's some scientific evidence that we're doing harm to the pond, or we're going to have an improved outcome, I don't really see the purpose of not moving forward with the way we've done it in the past, which is, you know, very light mechanical treatment. I mean, from 2009 through COVID, that's exactly what we did. And then after failing to be able to collect from the 74 farms, not the current owner, I might add, but the prior owner wouldn't pay her share because she didn't have the money. She said, I don't know how she paid her taxes, but she wouldn't pay. And so, you know, Chris and I split it, and the prior owner of 74 Farm Street and I split it. So, you know, we're very committed to keeping the pond in beautiful shape, because it really is one of the great assets of the properties, without exception. And so
are there fish in the pond? Fred, do you know if are there fish in? Chris, or fish?
I think it's too shallow, John, but I'll let Dominic opine on that. I think it freezes solid.
I think we have fish. It used to be stocked with trout. And
it's too shallow for trout, Fred, I thought.
Yeah, and I couldn't continue that, because I can't stand seeing the idea of fish dying because they can't handle the cold, because the depth of the pond was just unacceptable. So we have not restocked it.
Yeah. There is a common warm water species. So there's
turtles, and the beaver new to the property, which is pretty fantastic. I think one thing that needs to be said, and I don't know if this is true, obviously treating an inlet on the Charles River is a very different proposition. This pond basically receives water from the hills above, because we're on the downside of Farm Street. So water flows into the pond at times at a very high rate. And then it flows out of the pond at the I'm going to be wrong on my corner. I think the southwest corner of the pond. I think I'm right in saying that. It flows in at the north corner. It flows out at the southwest corner. And I did that my sense of direction is not very good. So that's quite an achievement on my part. And then occasionally we get overflows in very, very heavy rain and Chris knows about that because that actually impacts this little corner of the property a little bit more than mine. But there is water that flows in here, and I think that has a cleansing effect on the pond. That would be my guess. And so this is not a still pond. In fact, I think somebody's going to correct me here because I'm no expert in such things, but when water flows into a body, flows in and flows out the other end, technically speaking, I think that's a lake. Of course, this is way too small to be called a lake, and it shouldn't be. But we do have water flowing in and water flowing out, and I don't know what the flow rates are. It depends on the time of year. At times when the water levels have gone way down, but in general, it really is usually maintains very nice water levels and pretty good flow.
Thanks, Fred. Chris, can you scroll down just a little bit? No,
Sure.
I'm sorry, up.
That's as far as I go.
No, the other
one picture
direction.
larger?
No, we want to see, I'd like to see the top one. See are those like I thought they were hummocks of grass. I think the reflections of the trees, that upper right
reflections
photo.
of the trees.
Yeah, no, I was wondering
John, if you look at the water, and I don't know what the right answer is, but if you ask me to walk out there and pull weeds, I'd have to put my hand down. I mean, there's nothing growing through the water at this point, given the treatment.
Okay.
I'm trying to show you, it's literally glass.
Yeah, no, that was my my mistake of trying to figure out what I see on a small picture there. So I guess the question I had, Dominic, what are the chemicals that are being proposed?
That's a good question. Let me quickly pull up the NOI so make sure I'm being accurate here. So the products we are asking for are the Diquat herbicide, which is used primarily for submersed plant growth. We're asking for the Sonar Fluridone herbicide, which is another herbicide that is used for submersed plant growth. And we're asking for let's see, Endothol, which is again another herbicide for growth, glyphosate, which is used to control water lilies, and copper-based algicides. So we're asking for several different products. I think the most common one we have been using out at the pond has been Diquat, and I don't expect that to change. We're presenting a multiple year management program. We want to be able to have different products in our toolbox, but it does not mean that they'll all be used. Certainly won't all be used at the same time. It just allows us to select the appropriate product. And again, these products are all labeled for use in lakes and ponds, approved by EPA, approved by DEP and DAR, Department of Agriculture here in Massachusetts. We also get a permit from Mass DEP, a specific permit for the products on an annual basis as well. Providing information about the site, what the products are, how much, and that sort of thing, and that we get that on an annual basis. Now, the program itself is we do periodic surveys of the pond. That's really the main part of the program at this point. Those surveys allow us to keep an eye on the vegetation. When things start to get overabundant, we'd recommend a treatment, but the monitoring really guides the program.
And you were saying, I didn't hear the last time, you said there is a type of fish that's there?
Yeah, no, so, just about every pond, it's amazing. Every pond has fish in it, just about. This pond has typical common warm water species, bass, sunfish, shiners, that sort of thing. Fred said that there used to be trout in the pond. I mean, that they were stocked. I mean, this is not a trout pond because the water temperatures get much too warm in the summertime for any kind of trout to overwinter. So it's really the warm water species that are here.
So, and the half-lives of these chemicals, I know glyphosate is pretty short. The other ones, what's the scenario there?
Yeah, they're all aquatic products are probably one of the most scrutinized classes of herbicides out there. They all have very low half-lives. We did provide some links in the NOI specifically to the Mass DAR website, which has a whole web page about these aquatic products there, and has links to the labels for these products. So I don't have the exact half-lives, but in terms of they're all generally a matter of hours or days, and specifically for Diclot. The levels of Diclot are typically drop 90% within the first 24 hours. There are, I think, related to that, all these products have irrigation restrictions of a period of time because they are herbicides. So if folks were to take water out of the pond and put it on their gardens or their lawn, that would obviously have some effect. So Diclot has a 3-day irrigation restriction for turf. Endothol actually for turf doesn't have any water use restrictions, but I believe for like flower gardens and shrubs, I believe it has a 5-day irrigation restriction. So relatively short term.
And is there any effect on potability?
There are drinking water restrictions on these products. Again, Diclot is 3 days. They all vary. Sonar doesn't have any drinking water restriction as long as it's applied at 20 parts per billion or lower, which is the case for most ponds. Again, that's for direct water intakes, not for wells that may be nearby the shoreline.
And Chris or Fred, do you have an idea how deep your wells are?
My well is 620 feet. I know because I replaced all the piping this spring.
Lucky you.
I think mine's similar, John. I had to replace my pump. It was an expensive project.
No, the reason I asked, because that's not unusual, and so that the groundwater that we have directly in our backyard bears little effect to the aquifer that you're drawing from when you're down that deep. I just wanted to go through that. So I guess so the Charles River Association has their concerns a lot, and much of it in this particular case that Janet had sent out was dealing with an area where all the surrounding neighbors used fertilizers clearly. And I get the sense we haven't been out there for a number of years, but I think neither property, 72 or 74, appeared like they were heavily fertilized, that no one was trying to make a golf course there. Am I correct? Or
I can,
John, both
my
Fred
property,
and I leave the area around the pond wild. We cut a trail for walking, but it's we don't fertilize anything within 100 yards probably of the pond.
And but you fertilize up closer to the house?
yeah, I think both Chris, yeah, at least 100 yards. I think in my case, probably 200 yards.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
no,
think because what we've seen is that in areas that are in very, we have jurisdiction over 100 feet, what we find, and so like the case that was mentioned in the letter, folks did not use organic fertilizers. They fertilized it like it was, well, even more than a golf course does. And in the Charles River Watershed Association has seen the direct relationship with the fact that the nutrification and the abundant plant life in ponds responds to the excess nitrogen and so forth. The pictures you're showing me don't show that, and I don't know the last time you treated the pond was. So I just, Dominic, in terms of relative to that CWRA letter, do you have a particular a response that's to that letter?
To be honest with you, Mr. Chair, I'm not which letter are you referring to? I'm not sure if I was sent the letter directly. I don't recall, so I apologize. But
Janet, when did you send that out?
I only sent that to the commission. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it was something that basically talked about phosphorus and nitrogen.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
things of that.
I I understand the situation because it's something that we deal with all the time. I mean, obviously, yes. Nitrogen and phosphorus are kind of the two primary nutrients for plant and algae growth, specifically more so phosphorus than nitrogen, because there's usually more than enough nitrogen in the system. It's usually phosphorus that is kind of at that lower level, or it actually determines how much growth is there. Again, all the owners have been abiding by the 100-foot at a minimum, and in many cases a considerably larger buffer zone for any kind of fertilization. And there's actually a law in Massachusetts that it is mostly on the honor system, but you're not, there's a law that you're not supposed to use phosphorus fertilizer or fertilizer containing phosphorus on any grass anywhere in the state, unless it's either a newly planted lawn or you have soil testing data showing that you actually do need phosphorus. So most of the products that you buy at Home Depot, for instance, you'll all see that they all have 0 phosphorus. But yeah, it's a problem. It's been a problem for centuries of this phosphorus pollution. In the case of a man-made pond like Lyman Pond, it's a little bit of a different situation. It was never a pristine natural water body. It was a flooded lowland area. So there's plenty of soil and stuff that was already on the bottom of the pond. So there's a lot of material already there to support this plant growth because of the origins of the pond. But obviously for long-term protection, absolutely important to look at those things. And also, I don't speak out of turn here, but mentioning the Charles River Watershed Association, we have been doing herbicide treatments in conjunction with the Charles River Watershed Association and Massachusetts DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation, to manage invasive plants in the Charles River using aquatic herbicides. So it is, when done in a prudent management program, again, it's clear by state agencies utilizing this type of technique that it really does have a place in lake and pond management.
Okay, great, thank you. Chris, can you release your photo so we can get the rest of
Don't want to stare at my
everyone else on
phones anymore,
screen?
John? Okay, gosh dang it. I don't know. There we go.
Not as such.
I still know
How to click out of it. Let's see
might-
if you go up in
let me do that.
there we go.
There you go.
Does that
Great.
work?
Yep, you did. Thanks.
That was a guess,
Okay.
John. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, thank you. So Anna, you had a question?
Yeah, so beautiful pond, by the way. That's amazing. One thing I was seeing when I went over the letter is I can't quite tell when I don't know, the last alternatives analysis was done or the last aquatic scientist weighed in, because I know diquat in specific is really toxic to zooplankton and the little microorganisms that are eaten by the fish. And I think as far as like integrated pest management goes, I'd love to see more like monitoring and responsive to specific levels of contamination or specific levels of pests. So if we've got a scientist who's weighed in recently, it'd be great to hear their report.
What scientist has weighed in recently?
I couldn't tell if there was one from the note, the NOI. There was a supporting letter that said an alternatives analysis has been done in years past. I'm not quite sure which years past.
So was that from Chris or Solitude, or where
That was from so we did provide a alternatives analysis in the NOI. If you're asking if there's been like another third party scientist, then I don't believe that's been the case. So.
Okay.
Great.
And Janet, you had a question?
Yeah, so just a couple of things for the commission's consideration. I do think that it would be appropriate, if you are going to consider a waiver or a variance for our herbicide prohibition, that the waiver include a real integrated pest management approach. Instead of just saying, well, we've done chemicals, they seem to be keeping things in check. Because as indicated in the Charles River letter, herbicides are generally a last resort. There is a presumption, and even in the materials submitted by the applicant, for each of the 5 chemicals being used, they indicate under the section about impacts specific to the Wetlands Protection Act, that almost all of them identify at least 3 or 4 wetland interests. It says possible benefit, but also possible detriment. So that's not too reassuring, where an analysis says, well, there could be a benefit, but there could also be a detriment. I think more information is really needed here before I would recommend the commission consider continued use of herbicides here. In particular, the invasives that they have 3: floating heart, thin leaf pondweed, and white and yellow water lilies. Now, I know the Charles River Watershed and a lot of other groups hand pull and clip the water lilies. So if you don't have a huge infestation, that can be a very cost-effective and non-chemical approach to invasive treatment, invasive management. I don't know about the floating heart and the thin leaf pondweed, but if the pond looks as good as it does right now, it seems to me that a more conservative, prudent, ecologically sensitive approach would be to have the applicant really look at other alternatives, including manual hand removal, before you seriously consider a waiver here.
I'd like to respond to this. Okay, I mean there is an issue of cost and disruption and time. I mean, you know, I have no idea what the relative costs are, but I you know, getting someone to do any sort of physical labor, I'm finding in this country in general, is very difficult. I spent a lot of time in Florida. If you don't hire gringos down here, you hire immigrants. Okay, so getting people to do I don't intend to pick water lilies and clip water lilies, okay, or worry about this. I mean, it's just, to me, I understand what an ideal world is, but I see no evidence, quite honestly, that what we're doing is in any way destructive or detrimental. And by the way, it's
maybe, hey John, if I could add just one thing. If I recall the history as explained by Dominic, the private citizens that have built around this, what was a mess of a wetland, have turned it into a beautiful pond. We've spent our money to do that. Before it was an eyesore, now it's gorgeous. We've spent our own money maintaining the project in a way that we think is adequate and safe, because we all drink the water that comes off the water tap. And now, 15 years later, while the pond is pristine, I'll go back to my initial state of confusion. I don't understand why we're questioning the approach. I pay property taxes on this entire pond. We built the entire pond. I pay a fee. I pay 2 fees to come in and do this. And I'm going to pay another fee on top of it because someone would like me to pick it by hand as opposed to use the chemicals. So at some point, you're going to tax us all out of here. So I would just respectfully ask the commission to consider the fact that we spent our money to build this, and now talk about an overreach, coming in saying, well, I know it's been working fine, but why don't you spend more money and do something else and see if that happens to maybe be better, even though we can't show a single fact that anything's been wrong. So
actually,
I'll leave it at that.
okay,
But
let me jump in,
frustrated.
Chris. So in the last 15 years, science, marches forward. So some drugs, not drugs, but some pesticides that were allowed 15 years ago are no longer allowed. Same with herbicides. So what the question here has been brought up by our agent and has buttressed a somewhat similar situation with Charles River. I thought it's very instructive that Dominic mentions that they actually use these same chemicals with Charles River Watershed Association as well as with DCR and things of that nature. So and I would like to bring out that it's not a perfect world. That these things are all approved by state and federal agencies, and that this is also a decent sized pond. You know, it's not a small little thing that you can just wade in with some waders and you know, in a rake or something like that. So and it has seemed to have worked. I asked the questions of Dominic relative to some of what's going on underneath the water. So it seems to have a robust population. So things don't seem to have been damaged over the years there. Most of all these things have relatively short half-lives. And so I find on one end, Charles River has a letter dealing with a situation that clearly was over-fertilized by a number of neighbors versus a situation such as yours, which is considerably different with much greater buffers around there. So and yet we don't have the expertise to go ahead and research the approvals that are granted by agencies that do put this energy into these sorts of things. So I'm a little concerned about, you know, if you had a few water lilies on a 1 acre pond or less than that, yeah, they're easy to remove manually, but you're looking to address multiple things here. And do so with basically what your report says, the smallest amount possible to be effective. Nobody's well, I believe, is affected by this, which was another question. And that by the time this goes downstream, or even certainly gets into there's no aquifer directly downstream from that people pull some shallow wells from that the water would get there. So
the water goes from this through Fisher Brook into the Charles River.
Correct. The same Charles River that DCR uses the identical chemicals for.
No, that's not correct. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Does it go from that into Fisher?
Yeah. I just think there's a lot of misinformation here. I'm not an aquatic scientist, but I certainly could supply more information where we should use as much caution as possible. Charles River Watershed uses very sparingly some chemicals, but as indicated in their letter, they strongly were against use of AquaPro, and I'm trying to get more information from them now, but they're using a large number of chemicals here that are being applied. You may recall the last permit we issued, they said there's a problem with loosestrife, and the commission required, because there wasn't, the alternatives analysis wasn't sufficient, the commission required hand pulling only of the purple loosestrife, and it's now very much under control. So
I just want to jump in. Is loosestrife one of the invasives that you're concerned about on this pond?
Currently, no, I don't think we've seen much of that. No, that's a shoreline,
Okay,
woody
so
shoreline plant.
And are you recommending AquaPro for this?
We are. That's the glyphosate herbicide.
Okay.
I do understand. I wasn't aware of that, again, of the letter from the Charles River Watershed Association. If there is a concern with the glyphosate herbicide, we could substitute an alternative herbicide that's not currently in the NOI, but we could substitute the AquaPro for a different product.
So it sounds to me, Jana, are you looking for just a little bit more fleshed out alternatives analysis than you think you received with this originally?
well, I think that they need to request a variance, which does require an alternatives analysis, and that all other non-chemical options have been explored. Not just
now the question I have, I'm just curious about, because we've had some some homeowners who are have spent an awful lot of money on things because they felt very strongly. As a matter of fact, I think I don't remember which way the numbers go. It might have been Chris, the woman who owned the house before you moved there.
Elaine Fisk.
Elaine Fisk.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
spent something on the order of $35,000 an acre to remove invasives to the right side of the pond there at one point, which is interesting.
And John, and then I paid her for the house because it looked beautiful. What would the property? I'd like to run a case study and see what the property taxes would be if this is still a swamp.
No. That's
substantially
but
lower
number
for all
one,
three
it hasn't,
properties.
Chris. It hasn't been a swamp for ages. So that we're dealing with something. That's going back to that doesn't help anything. What I'm pointing out is some people decide to spend that money. At the same time, she also was part of the NOI that used the chemicals on the pond. So it's kind of precisely.
Well, I think
So I'm
30
bringing these things up. What I'm saying is that I understand the concerns that, and I'm in this case, I'm acting as just a commissioner, not the chair, is that I have done fair amount of research on glyphosate, which is I believe a mechanism for people to sue the bejesus out of Bayer. But that, even the European Union hasn't been able to figure out whether or not it's a danger or not. And so but the idea of fleshing this out a little bit, Dominic, in terms of addressing the concerns, and which we as a board are supposed to do, which is to look at a true alternatives analysis. And I believe cost comes into that. And that's part of the reason I brought up Elaine's, an initial cost, which is she did that on invasives, which my guess are probably already on their way back. But she, on the other hand, viewed that as careful as she was, that she viewed that this was the proper solution. Dominic, of all the people here, is the only person who actually has the scientific background to address this stuff directly, and I'm sure is very familiar with addressing it over and over again. So I think that from what I'm hearing, Janet, is the alternative analysis as opposed to this is the way we've already done it. You feel that you didn't get enough discussion or attention to the non-chemical alternatives. Is that an appropriate summation?
Yeah, I think that's right. And also, it seemed that the primary objection was cost. And I will remind you, DEP has new regulations in draft that take out the cost piece when looking at alternatives.
I'm sorry, are those in draft?
But under our regulations, it says they need to demonstrate no reasonable alternative exists.
Mm-hmm. So here's my thought as I follow this through. So if it's too costly, then the pond goes back and evolves over the decades to a mud flat. That's one option. That's the nature of what happens. The other thing on an alternative analysis is access through multiple hundreds of yards with large equipment and going along the bank there that is a man-made bank and somewhat fragile. I believe that would be part of the alternatives analysis as well, which is if you're going to bring in mechanical equipment, what potential damage is there? What access do you have? And I think that's the proper way to weigh things.
I know I haven't weighed in much, but I'm a owner's representative representing the owner of 68 on the back corner. And I just want to add, I think,
and you are,
what I'm hearing, my name is Adam Wiley.
And are you a professional in this sort of thing, or are you just?
No, I am a property owner's representative, but I just wanted to quickly add one point that I think aside from the 2 points you just mentioned with cost and access, I think we're also trying to say that it seems to be working. And I wasn't able to chime in earlier, but I can definitely confirm that no pesticides are ever used on our property. And we have property managers that do a lot of fishing and pull out tons of fish and love fishing there. So I think I just want to add to the notes in the conversation that it's not just a cost aspect for us. It's not just an access issue. It's also the fact that it's working and the pond is pristine. I think Chris made that point, but I just wanted to add that to the point you're making. It's, you know, it's not simply a cost issue. It's also the fact that we think it's working really well.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I think that's what I think that's also part of your alternatives analysis, Dominic, which is if the chemicals that you've used in the past do not seem to have affected the ecology of the pond, then bring that up.
Yep.
And then at the same time, you're familiar with other costs. I think it's I don't live in a perfect world. Cost, you know, if there is a significant difference, you know, if this is 10,000 versus 100,000, then 100,000 is not going to get it done. And then I don't think that solves, you know, our protective requirements for having a valid ecosystem there. So I just, it seems like we need a little bit more fleshed out alternatives analysis here.
If I could just make two quick points to, we did provide links in the NOI to a couple really good documents. You know, one of them I already mentioned was the Mass DAR website on aquatic herbicides. The other is a link to the generic environmental impact report on lake and pond management in Massachusetts, and its accompanying practical guide. I would really encourage the commission, if they haven't already looked at those, to peruse those links. I think the elements in the NOI about where we looked at each interest of the Wetlands Protection Act, I think that was taken as footnoted in the NOI. It was taken directly from the generic environmental impact report. So that's where we got that information from as well. So just, and the second quick point, again, we are doing multiple monitoring visits. Again, we do not treat every year. We do not treat the entire pond. We do and welcome a condition in the order that we provide the commission with a year-end report. And I guess I'm speaking on behalf of the owners here, but I think we're willing to do some amount of an annual water test too of the waters. I think I would find that interesting. It's a fairly reasonable cost to do that, and I think maybe that would help provide some information about the health of the pond to the commission as well. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, commissioners, any other questions concerning this? I'm just very hesitant because I actually looked at one of the links that had come in on that months ago or quite a while ago. That there are people who know more than we do. There's always a people who want to go 100% natural, but we have a DEP in the state that has rules for this and does allow this. They also have rules for us to look at the alternatives analysis, but these things are not prohibited and they review them on an ongoing basis. So I don't want to, and as I said, it does seem to have a robust ecology there. But Anna, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I know where you're coming from. I sort of feel the same, and yet it's got such a thriving ecosystem. I don't love continuing putting herbicides in without getting an aquatic scientist to confirm that that is the best possible approach. It very well may be, but you know, the science has changed. The lake is cleaned up. That's everyone's success. It may be we should continue the exact same plan now that we should continue the exact same plan as is, but I feel like it's a great moment for a status check.
And on whose time?
I mean, hopefully it can be
I
done.
mean, you know, if what I'm hearing is an aquatic scientist, where do we get one? And who who covers the cost there.
I'm already paying for Dominic.
What's
You
that?
got-
I
You-
said
you-
I already pay a fee for Dominic.
Right.
I'm not,
Right.
he's my aquatic scientist. I'm not paying for another aquatic scientist.
Right, but he
That's okay.
does have he works for a company that makes their living by doing this sort of treatment. So we're looking, but go ahead, Amy.
Because Fisher Pond immediately ends up in Chase Reservation, Chase Woodlands, I was thinking that possibly we could tap the trustees for some
Great idea.
expertise.
What is
Better.
What is Fisher Pond, please?
Fisher Brook is the brook that leaves.
Oh, you said Fisher Pond. I misunderstood.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I
so-
might have. It's been a long night already.
Yeah.
All right.
So
We've been on
so
for
that-
3 hours so far.
yeah, we had a hearing prior to opening things up. So Janet, you have your hand up?
Yes, so I'd support Anna's approach. And so what I would recommend is that the commission ask the applicant to come back with an integrated pond management plan that does a more thorough analysis and have it prepared by an aquatic scientist. I believe, Dominic, I think you're a trained engineer, you're an environmental engineer, but not a wetland scientist or an aquatic scientist, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm an environmental engineer by education, and I've been working in lake management since 1995. So
do you have Dominic, do you have anyone on staff that fits that requirement?
which requirement? A wetland scientist?
A wetland science, or what was what were you looking for,
Aquatic
Janet? And
Scientist,
an aquatic what?
an aquatic scientist.
Okay.
You may be the aquatic scientist is. I think you may be talking about a limnologist. That would be a scientist that studies lakes and ponds. So we do. I mean, I guess none of us have a degree that says limnology, but it appears to me that I don't think some of the commissioners are going to be agreeable to having us. I get the sense that it's not the matter of a title or a degree. I think there's obviously an inferred bias here from Solitude Lake Management. So we do have a limnologist on staff, and we've, as I said, there's many of us that have been working in the field for over 2 decades. So
well, Dominic, I think so. Jan, I'm trying to. So they may have somebody on staff. The question I have is, what additional information are you looking that either not necessarily counters, but broadens their review? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I think maybe it's best, I'd be glad to put something in writing and have the commission review that. But I would say a real integrated pond management plan. Instead of just saying these other things won't work, they're too expensive, we're going to continue on this path. So a true integrated plan looks at all options. And usually you end up with a combination of options. Just like with the last permit, we did require hand pulling of purple loosestrife, which was successful. They have very little of it now. So if we can look at the 3 primary invasives, I would say just a eyeball determination of the spread in the pond. And then looking at, well, what are the options for each of those invasives? What's the best approach? And then also looking at each of the specific chemicals, if they are continuing to propose those.
When you say look at, because DEP, EPA, there are a number of boards that have looked at these chemicals. What is it that you want to look at that's greater review than what those organizations have done?
So an example, glyphosate, Aquapro, in their notice of intent, they list the impacts to the specific Wetland Protection Act areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4 of those indicate possible detriment to the wetland, a possible negative impact. So I think instead of just saying, well, there could be benefits, there could be detriments, a more thorough analysis of, well, what are the benefits? What could be the detriments?
Yeah, but Janet, think about the phraseology of what you just said. Possible benefits and possible detriments. I mean, what does that even mean in terms of the real world, in terms of actually taking care of the pond? I mean, what is that?
That is. And John, can I ask one question, John? I'm just curious. The concern that I see here is there's a group of scientists at the state level and the national level that say these things are fine. There's a subset, I guess, associated with the Charles River that say they're not. So I can go hire 50 people that the state is comfortable with, but it doesn't agree with Janet, so she's going to object to it. So I don't understand the point. The state says it's fine. The federal says it's fine. Dominic says it's fine. How many different scientists do we have to hire?
We're in the midst.
I'm actually tired of paying for the scientists. Let the pond go back to whatever it was.
Yeah, we're in the middle. We're in the middle of a shift on the review of many of these pesticides. There's all sorts of things involved in this. There, Monsanto lobbies the hell out of things. We know all these sorts of things.
When did I apply my application? It's almost been a year. It's been a year. I just want that on the record, John. It's been a year since I hired Solitude to re-engage this, and we still can't make a decision.
So this NOI was submitted in November, so I mean I know the process has gone on longer with you, Chris.
Yeah, but for us it's relatively new. So
yeah.
Okay, well,
I mean one thing I'm looking at.
I'm going to drop off. I'm going. I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm looking at the section on glyphosate about. So I'm not sure there's. So the impact specific to the Wetlands Protection Act using glyphosate on page 5 of the project description. It basically takes each interest and explains whether it's a positive or negative. Everything's generally neutral, and all the potential negatives have to do with a loss of too many plants and a lack of food. So I think, we've talked about not overusing these products. And I think that, this was taken directly from the GIR, right? It's a analysis of the pros and cons of every single lake management technique that's out there. So, the negatives listed in that section are all related to loss of food, loss of cover, loss of food. We're not out to eliminate all of the plants in Lyman Pond. So I mean, we're trying to trying to balance the amount of vegetation in the pond. I think we will see over the without management, given the origin of the pond, the amount of sediment and nutrients that are already in the pond, that without some type of management, is it going to grow in completely in 3 years? Obviously not, because we haven't treated, I think, since 2019, so it's a slow process. But over time, as the years go by, it will return back to as more of a swamp. So.
Dom, your request as part of the NOI is you're looking at spot treating as well. Is that correct? This is not a full pond treatment.
That's correct. Yeah. So again, we monitor the pond, assess the vegetation several times over the course of the season. Only if we see an overabundance or the presence of an invasive non-native species, is where we do the treatments, and it generally is certainly not anywhere near all of the pond. I mean, actually, with most of these products, we can't treat more than half the pond anyways by label at any one given time. So it's typically like 1 or 1.5 acres. So it's again, the owners love this pond, and they love seeing the wildlife and the fish. So the last thing we want to do is to denude the pond completely of vegetation and organisms.
So how have you dealt with other towns that have had these same concerns?
Yeah, so I think you know, what most towns seem to enjoy or is being able to keep tabs on the program. So that's why we prepare a report providing our survey results and providing, you know, what was done in a year and report to the commission. I think what we're willing to do is maybe, you know, we were talking anecdotally right now. You know, if there's an overabundance or not. I think we could potentially put a little more detail, and it's not something we do for all of our ponds, but if the commission has concerns, we can be more quantitative on our plant surveys. We've already offered to do some water sampling to get an overall idea on water quality health of the pond. You know, and I think
have you had any towns that have refused chemical usage whatsoever?
I can probably, over 25 years, I can probably count on one hand how many towns have just said no. And you know,
so Janet, based on what Dominic was just mentioning, partly if I want to end this evening, I want to have something concrete, guidance in terms of what it is you're looking for, and you know, whether you know, and whether that's possible, whether it's available. So Dominic just outlined, and you know, broadening the scope of things, water testing, I guess a clarification of the spot use of these things and why and when, and yet and if he has folks on staff who may qualify as a limnologist or whatever, that, you know, that if they, you know, show some engineering bona fides or educational bona fides, what else beyond that? What else are you looking for?
So I think the focus should be on looking at the predominant aquatic plant species that are problematic. Quantify that. Where are the invasive areas, the problems, and the percent cover? Show that on a site plan or some kind of a diagram. And then for each of those, look at what the options may be. Again, water lilies can be very easily hand removed.
Which they have not, is not in their NOI, as I understand. Is that correct? Or
excuse me?
Would you, are there are you looking to remove water lilies?
Yes.
White and yellow water lilies are one of the major invasives.
Okay. So
So looking at the specific invasives, looking at the specific options, non-chemical and chemical, and for each invasive, what chemical would you use? And it would be helpful to have someone with an aquatic wetland background assess what the impact may be, the pros and cons, the benefits and the detriments, so that the commission can have a better understanding of that.
But isn't this research? Aren't you asking to redo what the state already does?
No, actually, she's looking to fine tune it. It's not that unusual to have something mapped out to say this is what we're going to do, and this is where. And what in this case here, you're looking to do the, you know, and you're not looking to do the entire pond. So it's already, Dominic already knows where these things are. They're just not shown on the plan, and those three species, I believe it was, have not been broken out separately on their alternatives analysis. So I think it's taking it to one more level down, but I don't think it's that inappropriate for addressing the concerns.
Yeah, I'm definitely willing to take a crack at this one time. You know, we'll do the best we can without doing you know, a master's thesis on the pond. I think we'll try to. I understand the commission's concerns. I don't know that we'll be able to alleviate all of the commission's concerns, but we will try. I think we will continue one more. I don't know when your next, I might need a little time. I don't know when your next meeting is. You might have to continue to a couple meetings out, but I guess the one thing I would say is that, you know, DEP has, you know, it's not really in the commission's purview to say regulate the actual product. So I think I would caution us trying to do a reanalysis of the toxicity of these products. None of us are qualified. That's already been done by the agencies. I'm really going to focus on trying to provide a little more detail, quantitative detail and water sampling, and thresholds and management criteria, that sort of thing.
Well, I think the balance approach as well in terms of looking at, for example, water lilies. Maybe it is something that water lilies can be removed by hand or by rake, you know, depending on the amount that you have, versus the spot treatment of the other species that you referenced. So I think it's a matter of taking that into account. And
I agree. Water lilies is probably one of the few ones that you could maybe do that because they're easy. You can go around in a kayak and cut the leaves off. You know, it's would be very difficult to try to hand remove submerged plants. And I think
in so doing with water lilies, does that keep them from growing back for that growing season?
no, you would have to remove. No, not unfortunately, no.
Okay.
So I
So
think the only way this is going to work is if, you know, we're at a low population right now of water lilies. It would have to be something that's done pretty regularly to keep it low, because once, even if they're allowed to start expanding at all, it's going to get beyond the point where you're going to be able to kayak around and cut leaves.
Are they rhizomes or are they
rhizome based? Yeah. So
Okay.
unless the rhizomes are taken out, then the plants will grow back pretty
Okay.
rapidly.
So I think that would be another part of your report to outline that that life cycle there.
Yeah, so if I'm sorry, I don't want to. I was just going to ask when the next hearings are going to be.
Oh,
but
so
I
we
don't
have
know if we're at that point.
so we're
yet.
looking at 2 weeks from now, and then Lori, when's the one after that?
So the next one is 221 and then 313 and then 327.
Okay, and is there does the application or the management of any of this work more effectively earlier in the spring?
We do when we do have to treat, we do like to treat earlier in the growth cycle, so there's not as much plant material to die off. But no, I think we're I was thinking about 313. I'm sorry, you have to send stuff a week before the hearing too, right? So
please, yeah.
that gives us roughly a month or so. So I think we're shooting for the March 13th.
Okay.
Here,
If you can just
doesn't-
send off a quick email requesting that continuance to Lori, please.
Sure. But yeah, I think we're going to take the best crack we have, but I believe, I think I speak for the applicant who's no longer here, that I think we're going to look for the commission to make a decision at their next meeting. So
Absolutely. And then yeah, and if you have someone on staff that can you know, come up with a letter that explains in either greater detail or better balance or whatnot, you know, always appropriate. So
Can I just bring up one quick other issue? Amy had reminded me previously that the trustees have a CR on 74 Farm Street. And I think it'd be worth for the applicant or the representative to reach out to Sally Nesser to see if there are any restrictions that could impact their work on the pond. They may need under permission from the trustees, I don't know.
which property was that, Jane? I'm sorry. Which?
I'd be happy to take care of that. We have a relationship with Sally Nesser, and I can do that, Dominic.
Is that? Oh, that's Adam speaking. Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if trustees have anything to say relative to how they treat their ponds, that may inure to your benefit. So
yeah, I've sent an email to Jen Dubois. So
But Amy, you said 74 Farm Street, and I think Adam was representing 68. So I just
I know.
want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he also, they're all in it together and
Okay.
Adam.
I just
has-
want to make sure that we're all okay.
Yeah, no,
The
but
owner,
if it-
the owner at 60
Cognizant.
tied in
Okay.
with the trustees too.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
I just, for the
Okay.
record, just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Yep, I think, yeah, let's, Dominic, you've heard a fair amount this evening. I hope, is it relatively clear about the expansion of the review that Janet's looking for?
Yes, yes. I
Okay,
think so.
then let's shoot for all that, and communication with trustees may be helpful. And may actually be necessary if, depending what the CR covers, so,
Are we gonna continue the other item for
so
continuation?
the
I
other
just
item
wanna-
is, was the certificate of compliance.
Yeah, I just didn't know if I needed to stay on for that one. or
Well,
if
I think
we
that's a
wanna continue.
reasonable question. I see on that new info, is that new info that's supplied by you or Janet? What's the new info on that?
I've received no new info. I
Oh,
don't,
you mentioned that in italics there. So what information are we waiting for in order to grant them the certificate of compliance on the previous?
as indicated in my notes, I believe there are 2 new owners since the last NOI. And we, the deed restriction or the confirmatory deed. And I had sent that out. I can't recall who I had sent that out to, but it wasn't clear who the owners of 68 and 72 were, if they were new owners. So I will resend an email out. And Adam, if you could send Lori your email information so we can contact you on behalf of your client or the owner of the property.
Yes, I will do that tomorrow, because yeah, that should, I had not seen anything about that, but if that goes to me, I can take care of it.
Okay.
And based on discussions I've had with the owners, I think, my understanding is the deed restrictions from the last NOI were in the property chain. So when the new owners bought the properties, they agreed to those deed restrictions previously. So if you need proof that those deed restrictions were recorded, I don't know that it's a situation where every new owner needs to record it or not.
Every new owner needs to record it.
It does, okay.
Oh, really? That's the way it,
I mean, Chris Flynn told me that he had, the previous one was brought to his attention when he purchased the property. So I assumed it was something that any new owner has to automatically kind of agree to, but I'll
So are you-
defer to the commission, obviously.
yeah, Jen, that's unusual because normally they run with the property in perpetuity. Is there anything specific that made it clear that it was, that it had to be?
We've had a special condition. This goes back like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
And and I've been citing it continuously,
right.
which requires that all successors have to record with the deed the restriction. And the
Right, so normally, and I'm familiar with that, normally once, when somebody's conveying something, if that is in there as, it's normally not renewed, it's there as long as you make sure that the closing attorney carries that over from the previous deed, that is normally, that complies with that. So that as long as it's still on record on the most recent deed,
Right.
so you basically, if you have proof that the deed into, for example, the folks who are on this evening, still has that wording, does that qualify?
Yeah, if it's the wording we require.
Yeah, so Dominic, if Dominic and Adam, if you can just review that, if it's there, if it carried over from the previous deed, which it should have with a decent closing attorney, then it should comply.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think the owners are all willing, I believe you also requested a signed affidavit that they've been complying with that. And I think, I believe all the owners are willing to do that if you wanted to send over the form or the language for that.
Yeah, Janet, what was that? That was a secondary thing that you're looking for? Or no, I think what it was is, I think the original one was the original the original NOI or order of conditions, was that just granted to one particular owner? Janet?
It was for all three properties.
Oh, it was, okay, so it was caught back then, okay. Then, if it's in their deeds, that should be fine. If it's not, they'll have to put them in there, and I think in this case here, just all the owners saying that they're in agreement on this application.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
we did receive that. So all three property owners have signed the NOI. So we're all set there.
Okay, so outside of the deed information, is there a second thing that you're looking for?
I'd have
What
to
was
go back. I think there was some kind of requirement that the owners put in writing that they will not use fertilizers, herbicides or pesticides. But they can't really do that if they're advocating now for use of herbicides, pesticides.
Well, I think that would come into the permanent conditions, if this proceeds.
Yes.
So that seems like it would take care of that, since they've all signed off on the application. So, okay, then, I just want to make sure before we leave, Dominic and Adam, that, where you need to go at this point is clear.
Yes.
I think it is, yeah. I can follow with
Okay.
Dominic, and I think it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, okay,
Right.
thank you much.
Thank you, folks.
And we'll, Lori will, if you can just confirm with Lori that you're looking to move this to the 13th, please. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, we have a continued notice of intent for 26 Miller Hill Road. And Janet, can you fill us in on what we're out on that?
Sure. So there were just some minor revisions that needed to be made. All required revisions have been made and a revised site plan has been submitted. So I am recommending that you approve this NOI, issue an order of conditions with the 9 special conditions as outlined in my report.
So this is 26 Miller Hill. On your report, you're saying that we already approved this and issued it?
No, that's the certificate of compliance.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me scroll up a little bit more. I'm sorry. Well, okay. So, I'm sorry, I was looking at at the COC one, it was split across pages. So you're recommending that, we go ahead and approve this with the special conditions?
That's right.
Okay. Are there any questions from, commissioners? Okay, I would entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Hand raised. Okay, and I'll entertain a motion to grant the order conditions with the special conditions as noted on the regulatory report.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
thank you. All in favor? Amy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
And myself. Okay, great. So done. Let's see. Then are we still looking at the certificate of compliance for 26 Miller Hill? Then
My
that was
shows that was issued. So
okay. That's I see that. So it's on the agenda. So but was there again on the Lori on the agenda? It says new information.
Yeah, so it was issued, and that's what the people at Goddard Consulted were looking into to find, because I couldn't find the file. It's 144033. That's the number.
Wow.
Well,
So it's
I
an
wonder
old
why you can't
file.
find it. Yeah.
And I couldn't find a file, so the Goddard Consulting, Sophie and Mitch were researching, and they found that there was in fact a certificate of compliance, and that was the new info. So
Oh,
that's
so
why I
the-
added to the agenda. So
I
it
see.
does have a certificate.
It
as
does.
Janet
Okay,
said.
so we don't need that. We don't need to confirm one or anything
You
like
don't have
that.
to make a motion because they already have one, so.
Great. And I just have a question for you, Sophie. What year was that?
Let me double check. I have it right here.
92 or 93. that it was-
Really? And that's all we had done was 33 of them, you know, in like the previous 15 years. That's
Yeah, the certificate of compliance was issued on July 5th, 1995.
oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there's nothing else for this evening for 26 Miller Hill, is that correct? I'm just double
Correct.
checking. Okay, great. Thank you much. Let's see. Next, we're looking at a continued request for certificate of compliance for 10 Draper Road. And that says new info as well, Lori. What's our new info on that? Can you unmute, please? There we go.
Yeah, that helps, right? So for 10 Draper, there was a revised restoration plan dated 1/17. Then Paul's review of the revised restoration plan dated 1/19. And a Fryer and O'Brien letter dated 1/23. And with those is the Cheney Engineering plan dated 12/22.
Okey-doke. Okay, Paul, why don't you fill us in on the status of this, please?
So basically, if you recall, there was we had some discussion about the kind of the initially the extent and then later the nature of the proposed restoration. The last issue revolved around the character of the restoration that would occur in the areas, in particular along the path. If you remember the path that comes from the pool house and then curves into the rectangular play area. So I had raised a question about, you know, the survivability of a meadow in that area. Deb Anderson came back and proposed a revised planting plan. And then in addition, there were changes, thank you, Artie, to the area that's be the east on the right here. The areas that I'm talking about are Artie, can you show RA2 and RA1? I guess those RA1 and 2 that Artie's showing are the areas where I had questioned the character of what was proposed, and Deb had come back with a change. So my letter was fairly concise and basically said that these guys, in my view, had reasonably done what was discussed at the last meeting.
Okay. So this maintains consistency with where we had been going as we had reviewed all this over the last X number of meetings.
Exactly. That was my conclusion. Exactly.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions on this? So then is this this is part of the original order of conditions, or is this an enforcement order, Janet, or how are we classifying this?
Well, I guess I'll jump in, Janet.
I'm sorry, yeah, Paul, yes, did you been handling it? Yeah.
These folks had initially requested a certificate of compliance. Janet did a review, found that what the condition out there was not consistent with the order. And then there's been several iterations about, you know, kind of what's a reasonable place to be in terms of you know, issuing a certificate, you know, bringing the site closer to what was actually approved from where it sits today. And you know, there was some back and forth and negotiation and changing of the particulars along the way. So procedurally, I'm not quite sure how to handle it because in essence, and the applicants are here, they can correct me if I'm wrong, and Jonathan Fryer as well. But procedurally, I think the place that the applicants would like you to be at is for the commission to agree that we will issue you a certificate, excuse me, a certificate of compliance if you implement this certain mitigation plan. I see Martin nodding, yes, good. So I think
so nothing would be issued until that work was done.
I guess not, but I'm sure they would like at least an agreement in principle.
Okay.
John, if I can jump in.
Yeah, Jonathan, I don't know if you can, are you on a laptop?
Yes.
You want to just shift that screen down a little bit so we're not just looking at your forehead? There we go. Well, up a little bit more. Up a little bit more. There we go. Thanks.
Is there a problem with the forehead?
No, I wanted to get the full experience. That's all.
All right, good. Good. Yeah, if you remember, this was a notice of intent that the previous owner had sought and just build something different. My clients who are here today with Artie and Deborah purchased the property, and when they discovered that they didn't have a certificate of compliance and tried to get one, approached the board to see what we could do to mitigate this problem and get our certificate of compliance. Gone back and forth a number of times. Artie and Deborah and Paul have, I think, worked out a pretty good compromise for everything. So I think what we'd like to do is, if the board could take a vote that a certificate of compliance could issue upon the completion of the work on this plan. That would, I think, be the easiest. And once we were done, you could come out and do a site visit and sign off on the certificate of compliance.
And I don't have a problem with that. My question is whether procedurally, whether we would basically accept this as an amendment. Janet, you have your hand up? Can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, I just had to step away for a minute, but I believe the certificate of compliance, the order of conditions itself has lapsed. And then these violations came to light during the COC review. I believe procedurally, you should be issuing an enforcement order to require the restoration. And then
if we agree on this restoration.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And then there'd be no bar to approving the COC, but the COC should reference the restoration plan and enforcement order.
I'm not sure that you can actually issue an enforcement order.
Once something is, are you saying because of the 3-year, the fact that it's expired, or?
Yes. And the fact that we have the statute of limitations, statute of repose. That,
yeah, I don't want to go there. It gets too messy.
Well, I agree with you, but the point is, if you can't enforce something, you can't issue an enforcement order. It just isn't valid.
Well, I guess part of what we're looking at is a if we agree on this, we're looking at, in essence, a friendly agreement that if you do this, we will do this. And I think one of the and we're just trying to figure out the right procedure there. And the question is, can we have a friendly enforcement order, because that then gives us something to hang our hat on.
Because oxymoron, isn't it?
No, not in my world. Everyone, you know, we all get along. But
I travel in a different crowd.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an administrative issue, and we're just trying to figure out how do we get past that in order to make it work.
Yeah, I'm just throwing out my opinion on the enforcement order that,
right,
you know, maybe it's not best avenue, but I'm happy to, you know, sit down and with whoever and just kind of hash out an actual format for it.
Yeah, I think I just, if I can weigh in, I think.
Yeah, Paul.
I think Janet's suggestion is the best one, because they want to do work, excuse me, they want to do work in a jurisdictional area, you know, move the fence, do the plantings. The plantings arguably could be exempt, but the fence work and whatnot, you know, is jurisdictional. The only alternative to make it legal would be to file a notice of intent for it, which I'm pretty sure your clients would prefer not to do.
Correct.
So I think, I mean, in essence, it's a matter of record. We've all been working on this. If we, so you're saying, Paul, to treat it as, yeah, as an enforcement order, which gives you then the permission to do the work within that setback, without having to go through the extra expense of things. And we have plans in front of us in terms of what it's going to be, with the understanding that upon that completion, it not only do we release the enforcement order, but the bonus is you also get a certificate of completion for the previous order conditions. It does seem like a smooth, mutually agreeable way to move. And there's no hidden agenda. No one's going to try to come around with a gotcha or anything like that. Does that, and I know that the other two attorneys involved in this have been doing their properly informed attorney thing, at making sure that they have their own attorney represent them. But that seems like the reasonable one that sort of crosses T's and dots I's there. Is that something you could bring yourself to trust the board?
Well, I always trust the board. I don't always agree with them. What I would say is I'm fine with that, but I'm going to reserve a question until I actually see what it says, of course.
Okay, then why don't we, given all that, then would we, since we've been following through with Paul on this, Paul, would you be willing to take it upon yourself to write that enforcement order?
Sure.
Okay, and then we can get that over to Jonathan, as well as the rest of the board and Lori, and incorporating that the wording that there would be a COC at the upon the resolution of that enforcement order. Okay.
I'll forward some of our standard restoration language, including, I think in this case, we would want some signage to protect the wetlands from disturbance.
Okay.
What does the commission want to make a decision on that, right? You know, kind of how much, you know, how much signage, you know?
Oh, I think that, well, since we're going to have to vote on this once we get this order back, we can incorporate that in there. It's usually, it's just Janet can give that some thought based on what we've done historically, but it would be, you know, 2 to 3 signs around the perimeter of things, so that eventually when you sell, any new homeowner recognizes that there's a wetland there, even if they weren't aware of it. And it outlines that there's no use of pesticides within that area, and no yard debris, you know, storage and things of that nature. It's something that we have on all orders of conditions. And as I understand, once this is resolved, you may be coming back in front of us for a different project, and that project will have the same sorts of things. And in that case, it's a little closer to the ravine by your house there. So it's just something that we do on for consecutive owners in perpetuity. So any questions on that?
I don't have any.
Okay.
I think we had a question. So I guess, you know, as we had mentioned, we had planned to do work around our pool area, sort of installation of a hot tub and a refresh there. It sounds like there's a meeting of the minds here. And again, as Jonathan mentioned, we're happy for there to be a, you know, site visit in the future. This is obviously going to take time to install, 205 shrubs and trees, etc. Is there something where we could get, in my understanding, Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if we're going to be able to move ahead with the other project if we have, an open order of conditions, and this would necessarily sort of delay us, I don't know, a year before or some period of time while we've agreed about this, but it sounds like we wouldn't get the certificate of compliance for some period of time. Is there something where we could get it provisionally in a manner sufficient to allow us to at least apply for, a notice of intent or an RDA for the pool work?
I don't see that the present situation precludes that.
Well, except that generally we don't accept new notices of intent for on properties that have outstanding orders or conditions. That's historically, how we've dealt with things. I think surprisingly, once you get landscapers in there, 200 shrubs get planted pretty quickly. However, and I'm not sure at that point, then I think we'd be, Janet, on this situation, since we've had Paul involved with this component of things for submission of a new notice of intent, would you see having Paul continue with that, or would that come back through normal channels?
I think it depends what the scope of it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We were hoping for an RDA if possible, because all the work will be on already concrete area that is around the swimming pool.
That's what I was wondering. So it's on the.
We're not going to expand it. It's just a refresh because it's old. And yeah, the hot tub would go into the existing concrete. There would be no expansion whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it does sound like so at the very, Artie, have you done up a provisional plan on this?
We were hoping to utilize the existing plan for the existing conditions that we have. We haven't seen the exact location of where we're going to be putting the hot tub yet.
Why don't you, I understand the concern and also timing, as summer approaches and all that sort of stuff when you're trying to get stuff done.
My question would be, if we have an open order of conditions for an NOI, filing for an RDA, it's like apples and oranges. I mean, will the commission allow us to file for the RDA because we're not filing a second notice of intent, it's just an RDA?
There is no order of
conditions. There is no order.
Yeah, there's because if the order still existed, if it hadn't expired, we might have been able to view this as an amendment, but so I think we're just trying to figure out what's the right way to procedurally to handle this, and I think one of the ways would be to at least submit.
I'm trying to be creative. That's all.
Yeah, I think if you submit just a rough draft, noting on the existing thing where you wanted to put these things. That would give us an idea of what's involved, and then we can try to figure out where to go administratively from there. And that way so just get that to us. We won't,
Can I bring up something? Sure. So I think the work that they're talking about doing might be an exempt activity under the Rivers Protection Act.
Is it beyond the 100-foot and within the but between the 100 and 200 foot?
I believe so.
Okay. So
they're doing something accessory to a single
interesting
family
point.
house.
So Paul, what's your, because I think normally even if something's exempt, do we still have the ability to review?
Well, we had a pool before that people were putting in beyond the 100 feet, and it was an exempt activity.
So we're going to be inside the 100-foot wetland buffer.
It's going to be right at where the 100-foot buffer is, and that, Artie, could you zoom in? It would be
so
in the corner, right there. Yeah, right where it's, like where it says manhole. Yep, around there.
Yeah, so right on the edge. I think because we had before us was the one that just recently expired was dealt with the field, but also I think the pool house there.
Correct.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, although that was 60 feet according from the
Yeah.
BVW. So and then if you scroll down a little bit more, thank you. Okay, so that takes us and then things move away from there. And Paul, what's your sense on that?
It may be exempt under the act. I don't know that your bylaw, as I recall, doesn't have those same exemptions, I don't think.
No,
Oh,
I think
I know that I worked on another project that a pool was in the outer riverfront area, and it ended up not.
Right, for riverfront, the question here is whether there's any overlap on the 100-foot buffer.
Well,
you know,
the exemptions in the act, if are potentially apply in the outer buffer zone.
Right.
So in the 50 to 100, which that Artie circle is if you're at kind of 80 to 100 or something like that, right, Artie?
I would think so. It's
Yeah,
again,
so
this is original wetlands flags. Once Deb goes and put the flags up, it might be that we might be more than 100 or we might be 90. That would be my guess. Deb has not put the flags yet for that location.
Yeah, so the threshold is 50 feet, John. So
for rivers, I mean, I thought the threshold with a wetland is
well,
100
it's what Deb's referring to is the so-called minor exempt activities.
Even within 100-foot buffers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if our bylaw.
Well, that's the distinction that I was making. What she's referring to is under the Wetlands Protection Act regs, but I don't believe that your local regs have those same list of exempt activities. I could be wrong.
I don't believe so, but feel free to look into that. But I mean, that gives us an idea of where you're looking at putting something.
And I'm happy to look into it.
Yeah, and see exactly what we're dealing with. As Paul said, our bylaw doesn't have those exemptions.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking of another project that I worked on.
No, and it was a savvy
similar.
move, but it was just it was but in that case, if like you mentioned, you're looking to put a fixture on top of a patio, in essence, then making a case for an RDA would appear to be strong. So that's so Paul, if you could work on the and so if you want to have already sent something over to Lori for that, just so that we can be familiar with it, and then we'll give some thought about timing and everything. But Paul, if you could work up the enforcement order and the resolution, at the end of the planting, and have that all in wording so that we can vote on it at the next meeting, that would be lovely.
Okay, that'd be great. And if you could send me that those blanks, Janet, that would be awesome.
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Great.
And just one last question. Sorry. So to be clear, the certificate of compliance would be issued upon installation of the 205 shrubs, 4 saplings, and the seed mixes and everything reflected in the plan.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is that correct, Paul? I don't want to jump the gun on that, but that.
Yeah, the only potential hitch, and the owners won't be happy to hear this, is that typically when there's plantings, there's a certain monitoring period to ensure success. I don't know how the commission wants to deal with that.
Can we allow that to survive the COC? Having a monitoring. We've had other orders of conditions where we require that for X number of years. I just don't recall if we've had anybody more often through benign neglect come back for the order, for the COC.
We proposed in our plan a 2-year monitoring period, you know,
Mhm.
again, as part of the review with the hopes that, you know, you'd issue the COC and then you can come back and if you say we're not, you know, in compliance, it'll be a, you know, a covenant surviving for 2 years.
Yeah, and it would end up being probably another enforcement action if we
Yep.
needed it, but I'm hoping that we wouldn't. So I think we can figure that one out. Okay, then I'm sure we've made Jonathan's night. And let's see, are there any other questions, commissioners or anyone else on 10 Draper Road? Okay, then thank you everyone for our mutual patience, and we'll move forward. Okay.
Glad to get a result. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good night.
Okay, 72 Farm Street, we're not dealing with. 24 Pine Street, there was a deed restriction that had to be put on.
That's right. So this has come back to us. So this order of conditions is 14 years old. It amazes me that I know this has changed hands several times, this property at 24 Pine.
No, actually it hasn't.
Oh,
It's
okay.
they've owned it for 30 some odd years. Yeah.
Okay. So just a note, you know, it'd be better if we have some kind of system where we can require folks, once the work is actually done, that they come back to us right away. But that's something to be worked on, I think. But anyways, the only outstanding issue here was the deed restriction. We have that. We have proof of recording. So I recommend that that be approved with the one special condition outlined in my report.
Okie doke.
Actually,
So we're actually granting the COC for that for 24 Pine then?
Yep.
It's
Okay.
been for 100 years, whatever. So moved.
Second.
Okay. And all in favor? Amy?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Anna?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay. So let's see. Jonathan, you're still here. So Phyllis, is it for
Yes,
regarding? Mhm.
Actually, I hung on because it's always so enjoyable at 10:30.
No, I know you're reliving.
I'm dying to know why you're on.
No, you're reliving
wants to
your
give
youth
us
when
some
you were on the
land.
board.
Well, no, because I fell asleep for the first 2 hours and now I'm wide awake.
Oh, so it's about the prior gift?
That's it, you and me both.
Yeah.
I think
No,
it's about
actually,
the prior gift.
I just wanted to make a check to see what's happening with the gift. But the other issue was, I think you need to look at your herbicide and pesticide restrictions, because pretty much all restrictions expire in 30 years unless they're a conservation restriction. And so, and I'm not sure that you can really require future owner to sign anything. So if you want them to last in perpetuity, I think you ought to check with town council and see how or why you could do it.
So, but within that 30-year, do you think you have the ability to require new owners?
No, because once it's recorded on the registry of deeds, it's there, but it's good for the 30 years. The new owners don't have to sign on.
Okay, so right, that's what I thought. And so the
Yeah.
30-year time frame that you're talking about is the typical registry recorded, situations for 30 years, right?
Exactly.
Got it. Okay.
The big problem is notice when the new homeowner comes in.
Right.
You mentioned closing attorneys, and we are very careful about these things. But
Is that the same thing, Jonathan? I'm sorry to interrupt. Is that the same thing about easements as well?
no, easements are different. Easements are in perpetuity.
So
Very
this
different from
is, but there
CR.
are certain things at the registry of deeds that have limitations, like mortgages, for example. If a mortgage is good for, if nobody does anything about it, 35 years down the road, a mortgage basically expires unless the bank or the mortgage company re-record something. Is that correct, Jonathan?
That's correct.
Yeah, so there is those are a series of rules that the registry has on certain things, and one of those happens to be for restrictions like that. So that if they're not reintroduced, then somebody's not.
Do we assume that within every 30-year period, they're gonna come before us for something if they have wetlands on their property and they get re-upped?
That's where I was kind of, thank you, Amy. That's kind of where I was going. Like, what, when we're all gone, which is gonna be.
Right, but I mean, assuming that it is a normal condition every time an NOI is issued from us, from the Dover Conservation Commission, assuming that we pass that habit on to our successors, then someone will have to have owned their house for more than 30 years to be able to start using herbicides. And I would guess that if they haven't used herbicides for 30 years, they're probably not going to start.
Yeah,
New
I think-
owner, though.
The new owner might, but somewhere in the new owner is probably going to come before us for something, because
Well, I don't think for example,
every 30 people do stuff every 30 years.
Yeah, I think one of the things,
especially in Dover, it seems like
the
they knock
nature-
down houses and
10 years.
rebuild them
I
every
think it's every
30
10 years.
No,
Okay.
the nature of the beast is that deed language may still get carried over just by a matter of habit. When somebody's redoing a deed, they don't necessarily look to see when that first came out. And so it may not be enforceable, but it may actually still be in the deed. I've lived in my house for 30 years. I have a stream running back. I'm not in
Dumping
front of the board.
herbicides in it?
And you
What's
haven't
that?
done anything, you haven't come before the commission in the last 30 years?
No, I've just been at the commission, but the
Now we can
but-
do an enforcement order on John.
but part of it, it's 400 feet away from my house. But my point being is that there are people who don't do things. I am all
I
in
don't do
favor
anything either.
of benign neglect when it comes
But-
to well-established meadows. So
We're probably not, anyway.
but I think I think that was very thanks for bringing that up, Jonathan.
Yes.
I think it was
We'll
an
look
interesting
into that.
point. And then is there Janet, have you had a chance to go out to Jonathan's mini dam to take a look at that yet?
So
someone was supposed to contact Mike Angieri to do that. That isn't going to be doing that.
What's the
Okay.
mini dam?
I
Well,
thought I
Jonathan-
have people at the open space committee that would like to do a site walk if that would be all right.
Well, maybe we can coordinate that. Do you have particular better days than others, Jonathan? Well, we all do, but
Oh, nothing too early or too late, but
Yeah.
otherwise I'm pretty free.
Okay, Amy, do you want to coordinate that with Concom folks as well as open
Well,
space?
Yeah,
And and then Lori, did you have a chance to contact Mike about that, or was that something I was supposed to do, or do we know how that was left?
I don't recall how, I didn't contact Mike. No, I didn't know I was supposed to.
Okay, then and Jonathan, do you deal with Mike on a monthly basis at all, or?
Not a monthly basis, but I can
Okay.
connect with them.
Okay, why don't you do that, and then you can contact Lori about getting other people involved. Find out, and you and Mike might go out there separately. I mean, just by the two of you. Although feel free to give me a ring and see if I'm in the area.
And
And
just a thought, Mike might be, I would think we would want perhaps even an independent structural engineer to sign off.
let's take a look. Let's have Mike take a look at this. We're talking, last time I was out there, it's a berm that has a piece of steel in it. It's not, let's see if Mike thinks it needs to rise to that level. It's a pretty benign thing, from what I recall. So I don't want to make it more complicated than it needs to be. If he feels it's going to require something else, then then we'll go ahead and
And
do what we
maybe
need to do.
just Lori, let me know when they're going, and then I'll hopefully be able to go, and I'll just let open space people know when it is, and if they show up, then great. If they
Mhm.
don't, then they can't complain.
Okay.
Right. Well, who's gonna complain? Anyway, um,
Justine.
No, Carol.
Oh.
Carol, maybe, yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay, and is there anything else, Jonathan, you want to address, or do you
Nope.
just want to hang up?
No, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go to bed.
Okay.
Good night,
Sounds
everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, with everything, did anyone have a chance to look at Janet's invoice? I did not. I don't. Janet, when was that sent out?
Went out February 1st, a week ago.
Yeah, it was sent out a while ago. I just haven't had any time for
Was
any.
that $7,700 or something, or?
8,351.
No, different. Was the one before that 77, or am I just making this numbers up out of hope?
Yes, that's about right. Yep.
Okay. Then,
I'm sure it's fine.
I do too. I think it's fine. Can we just,
oh, I mean, well, I just pulled up, I don't know why, I pulled up last June's. So much for sorting. No, let me just take a quick glance at it, because I think we should at least give it,
you're the chairman, we should.
yeah.
What bumped it up was the review of the 2 culvert projects. Those were
Oh,
not.
actually, I am glad you mentioned that. I meaning to give you a call. Well, actually, no, I will tell you, it's a different culvert, but I'll talk to you about that during the week. Let me just check this out.
So after our last meeting, I was like so perplexed about culverts. I did a lot of research, so I understand now the difference when Amy said, you said, why isn't it just a regular, I can't remember what term you used, Amy.
I don't either.
Then I was like, oh my God, there's the square culverts and the
Oh, right, box beam, box
box,
culvert
exactly, and
versus,
I was like, I
yeah.
did all this, like, oh my God, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is fascinating once you go down that rabbit hole, but, yeah.
But maybe not that productive unless
No.
but if you've, but one of the things we will be coming up, and I've been talking to the highway department and so forth, and we're going to, there are certain small things. We used to give them 5-year orders of conditions to do maintenance issues. And that has been changing with different, according to some DEP guidance, but different highway departments around the Commonwealth and so forth. And yet, it is not cost effective for the highway department to have to do an order of conditions for everything that involves a wetland, when they're maintaining things. So that we'll, that's one of the things I'll talk to you, Janet. We should have a one of our theoretical monthly meetings. We
I was
should
gonna
get
say
that.
around the coffee table meetings, okay.
Yeah, and so that because the I'm waiting for Kevin to get back to me. He's looking talking to some other DPW folks, and again, it appears we're dealing with one of these perfect world things where some folks in DEP are saying that every single thing that a highway department does that's within a wetland should get a order of conditions or an RDA. And if that's the case, those things will not get done because highway departments don't have the funding to hire engineers.
Yeah,
to
but
do
these
all
were
that.
really big projects.
Oh,
so-
no, these are clear cut. This is
But
all
so-
incorporated, all the
so-
funding that they had. But
Yeah.
we've had other culverts that we've dealt with. And so we're just trying to figure out the right thing to do administratively.
And there is state guidance on that, so yeah, we can talk.
Yep.
Basically, maintenance work on culverts or streams or brooks does not require a permit, but if you're expanding or improving, or if there is alteration of a wetland, then they really do need to come in at least for a review.
Right, and I think that's perfectly appropriate, and I think the highway department's looking for some guidance because they were scared to death that they might have to come in for an NOI for everything. And so that's great. We'll figure out the right guidance to give them. So that this came up in, they had done an analysis of Old Farm Road by Gretchen, I can't remember her last name, but that culvert that keeps, the two culverts that keep getting blocked up.
Yeah, by the beavers,
Yeah, no, this is
No.
the house, the sidewalk we did with Mark Howe and Monique from whatever the plant consortium or whatever. Anyway, I don't want to, it's not on tonight's agenda. I want to finish
All
up
right,
for the
doesn't matter.
evening.
Okay, okay.
We've had a lovely evening, but I think it's time for us to
So
sign
should we
off
vote
on
on
Janet's invoice.
invoice? I just think
Everything,
that it looks great.
it does, and it looks
I would second Janet's invoice.
okay. So I'm sorry, I didn't. Amy? Did you actually make a motion on
Yes,
that?
I
didn't hear.
move, I move that we,
Okay, so and that we Lori, the funding for this invoice would come from the WPA fund. Is that correct?
I would think the professional services doesn't have a balance. There's about 24,500 left in the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay, so we'll do that, and then at the same time, can you work with, I don't know if you can work with Mike Blanchard to see what we need to do to get a how do we fund last year? We got a, was it an emergency transfer, or what was the
Well, are you going to transfer it from another thing in the budget?
No,
Or
we're gonna look for them. We're gonna look for the town because we don't have, we're gonna run out of the WPA money, and I don't think we have
Yeah.
any other options to get it from.
um,
And so last year
I
we
think
did,
Chris just gave you, like an extra out of, I don't know what they call it. free
right, but
cash or
I would
something.
like to figure out a ballpark of what we're gonna need for the balance of the year and then request that from them so that we get that in.
Where
in
will that
process.
number come from? What we're gonna need for
Well,
the rest of the
where
year?
it's gonna, like we did last year with Chris, wherever that money came from, it was, I don't know what, it was a transfer of funds from, I don't know exactly where it came from. If
From
you
the
find that-
general fund, I think.
Yeah, so let's
But I
work
don't know
out,
how much to ask him for.
well, that's
So
why,
so without putting Janet on the spot, and John, I don't mean to override you, but so what basically is she spending every month? And then just times that by 12.
But
well,
it
we've got,
well, no,
we
the
have
difference
5 more
is,
months
yeah,
with February, March, April, May, June.
says $40,000 on the most,
That's, yeah, $40,000. We have 26, no, we have 20 of it after we pay this, or 18 of it after we pay this, so we need another 25.
well, and maybe a little bit more so we don't completely exhaust the WPA fund.
All right,
I think-
30,000. I don't,
So no,
whatever
well,
you
no,
want,
Lori,
but at least
no,
25.
Lori and I will work those numbers and then we'll make that request. I want to bring it up because we need to do it proactively. At the same time, it's an ability, that Mike Blanchard's going to say, well, I've had discussions with him before. This is just going to reinforce the fact that we don't have an adequate budget for the work that we do. And we should, so I don't anticipate a problem there. But I just want to catch it early, before we exhaust our funds.
You're thinking he's saying that we are not budgeting properly.
Nope, he hasn't said
Oh,
that at
no,
all.
the warrant's not giving us budgets, but
So
anyway.
well, number one.
I'm just trying to understand. That's all.
No, so what it is Janet has a contract. And what was it? Was that for 80 originally, Janet, for this year?
65.
Okay. So
Should be
we've,
80, right.
so with all the extra work that we've had to do, it's been busy and we've had 40Bs and we've had enforcement orders and we've on all those things. So some of those months where, Janet was billing at $13,000 plus, we approved those because we knew she put the work in. So I spoke to Mike Blanchard several months ago and pointed out that we are going to need to, and we put in for the next year, we increased that amount, I believe, and said, this is what's happening. One of the things that I asked them to do was to, what they did with other boards when Chris Dorley was still around, was they had an outside contractor come in and review other boards, Board of Health, Planning Board, and so forth, and see how they functioned and whether there was a different model that they should function under, or were they functioning appropriately for,
or if
you know.
their like budgets were different than ours. And blah,
Right,
blah, blah.
absolutely.
Right.
And in those cases, all of them got much larger budgets because they realized that, you know, they've been doing things. So, you know, so that's one of the things that I've asked him to do. However, for 4 months out of the year, the town manager is subsumed by having to do everything for the town meeting, get ready for the town meeting. So this gives us yet another data point to bring to his attention that we need to be in touch with reality in terms of what our real budget is. So Lori and I will discuss what we'll require to be able to finish out the year. Talk to Janet relative to things that are coming up and try to get a handle so that we're not left hanging with no funds to pay Janet come April or May.
And again, Janet, I don't mean to have you on this meeting, but I think it's important because it's like, as I've always said, we would be screwed without you. We need you and we love you and we want you. So whatever we can do to support you moving forward, that's my perspective.
Well, and part of it though is the town has to look at it, and this is what, you know, we want to be proactive on this and bringing things to their attention and say, okay, if Janet's budget edges up towards $100,000, you know, is it, you know, are they gonna give us the money, or are they gonna say, you know, do something? And part of
But what are they
my
gonna do,
feel,
John?
well,
What are they gonna do?
well, they're one of the things they look at is they decide, okay, have we gotten big enough where we now need a full-time agent? So that, you know, rather than having a consulting
It costs them
agent,
a lot more than 100,000 to get a full-time agent.
that's for them to decide. We know all that, but we know that, you know, many other towns do it for less, but many other towns aren't breaking 900 on their DEP
And
filings
they
either.
don't have asshole millionaires who keep us up all night.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
like the
And
two
decide that they
men
want to
were
do what they want to do, and we.
And
Right.
that believe me, I have made that case without using those words.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
11
I
o'clock
believe,
at night, and we're still
I
on.
believe,
We started at 6:30.
no, I
My
believe
bum is hurting.
I believe the term I've used has been masters of the universe, or so-called masters of the universe. Anyway, we've voted.
They wish they were masters of the universe. They're not.
I just want to make
think
sure.
they are.
Did we finish the
We
vote for
vote?
Janet's invoice? Did we actually finish?
I don't think
the-
you finished
okay.
the motion.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Oh, we did move. I
So
moved.
A second.
Okay, okay, thank you. All in favor? Amy,
Aye.
Sarah,
I did not
An-
mean to like.
Anna. And I am an aye, okay?
Okay, you're getting paid, Janet.
Okay, we're gonna pay you. We're keeping you later so we can pay you more.
Oh
The,
my God. Again, I did not mean to, I just, ugh.
Nope, that's it. You don't have to worry about it. We read your mind. We know. Okay, quick update, Janet, on your agent's report, please.
Sure. Oh, we skipped over land management work group update.
What do you
yes,
got?
I will keep this short because it is late and I also don't have a lot to say. We're working on the signs. I've coordinated with Tim. Rick and I are going to go pick it up tomorrow. We're going to email Lori on fasteners. We're still working on our strategic land management plan, which to figure out, like, not the plan itself, but to figure out what the costs are, which will tell us whether we want to talk about a conservation fund increase or are good with what we got. So that's in the works. I think we'll have something to say, one way or the other next time. But that's
And what are
in
you looking at
progress.
what are you looking at for fasteners?
If you give me a second, I can.
Are you going
Hold
stainless
on.
steel or?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's.
Okay,
I
so
have the exact thing. Yeah.
my recommendation would be the minimum 2.5 inch stainless steel with stainless steel ferrules, the little raised washers that go around, and that way the goal is to avoid the rust lines that drip down on things.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. 2.5 inch all stainless R4. If that's relevant, I could send you the link.
Yeah. So and then just a washer would be helpful.
Okay.
And flat would work as well, but as long as everything's stainless, you should be fine.
Self-camber sinking and cutting teeth. I don't know my fasteners, but that is the end.
Yeah,
of the
counter
description.
sinking makes it sound like there's not a washer, and so I'm concerned with torsional twisting in the wind or anything like that. So
Okay.
may look at a
We
washer.
can add washers.
Mhm.
That sounds good.
John, you always say I don't say a lot, but I'm going to say a lot tonight. So I'm going to be a ball buster. Are these signs made by Tim?
Yes.
Okay. Because when I became on the commission 9 years ago, we voted that he got the machine and he was going to make all these signs. So it's been 9 years.
Yep.
Okay.
These are the signs. There was an email that Greg sent me tonight, which was, does anyone know where the Wildwood sign is supposed to go?
Oh, I
is it
saw
on the
that.
kiosk at Wildwoods?
I
think just find a spot.
I looked at
Go.
I looked at that picture because it appears that maybe a post didn't get placed there. And I think Tim thought at one point there was a half post or something, but there is a tree to the right of the opening there that is I think that might be more appropriate than putting it on
off Center Street.
Yeah, it's right where the opening is on the parking area. You walk
Yep.
through the stone wall, and there's
Exactly.
a decent sized tree right there.
Yep.
And
Okay.
since there are things put on trees relative to arrows and other markers, I think that would be a good place for it because the kiosk already tells somebody where it's there. My question on the kiosk is there a map there?
Yeah.
Is it really Is it really faded?
Yeah.
It's pretty faded, and I have to say, from a horse person, the trail markers are pretty faded. But I'm not going to get into.
No, but I think that's fine. I think that's something that Anna can take into
next
account.
on Anna's list.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're kind of working on that. We started with just those signs that Tim has made because we know they exist and we want to, get them up before it's 10 years. And then we're also talking about trail markers, but just starting with these signs and Bog Bridge.
And there are
but,
interesting. I have saved on my Amazon list. I actually have a conservation folder. Imagine that. There are ready-made signs that have a picture of a hiker with an arrow going off in depending on directions. That may be an easy way to handle things. So we can discuss that. Let's see. The other thing was, is there anything else, Anna?
Yeah, thank you. I think that's great.
I appreciate it. I think our next meeting is around the next Concom meeting, so I may have something else to say. I may be saying the exact same thing, but I think the next thing on our list is the strategic land management plan.
Excellent. Thanks. Let's see. There's correspondence regarding Eversource right-of-way maintenance.
Yes, so this is their standard right-of-way vegetative management work. They do have, I'd say, fairly good BMPs that they're going to follow. No machinery in the wetland, no herbicide. So I will, they'll be contacting me when they start this work. This is all towards the north transmission line over near Trout Brook. It's not a huge amount of area. It's already very cleared, so I don't think they're going to have to do too much vegetation removal up there.
Yeah, no, they're usually very good with their notifications. Just a quick question. I was looking on things. Let's see, where was that? Oh, request came into Lori. I don't know if Janet, if you received this as well. The on 25 Miller Hill, the Miller Hill Private Road Association noted that the catch basin that had a erosion control sock in it basically has filled up, and they wanted to know whether or not they could remove it or remove the debris that's in there. And it's a private road. I think they're, you know, the highway department's not involved.
But, so we don't actually have jurisdiction over that, but
Mhm.
Mike Angieri, who oversees the NIPD's permit,
Mhm.
they should be directed to Mike Angieri to follow up on that.
Is there a nifty permit on Miller Hill, the whole street?
No, just on that lot, 25 Miller Hill. It was over.
Yeah,
in-
so this is outside the lot, though. It's actually down by the stream. It's part of the catch basin set up there.
Right. But as part of the NIPD's permit, they do have to put in those silt sacks in catch basins, the one in front of the property.
Right.
As part of what their erosion control.
Okay, so I think Lori, the thing there, I forget what your last communication was, but I think I think that's up to the Miller Hill folks to get in touch with Goddard to have them do it because it would be part of that. I'm not sure if the NIPD still applies, given that the property's been sold. I don't know who it applies against.
And they still haven't finished all the work. It's not stabilized. So
Mhm.
I would refer them to Mike Angieri.
Mhm.
Because
Well, I
that-
think they're looking to, they just want to get this thing, get the dirt out of it so that it will stay, it will end up working again right at the moment. So we can do both, Lori. We'll direct them to Mike and Jerry, but also tell them that they should talk to Goddard about that the homeowner should be doing that, you know, should be maintaining that as part of their until they get their final approvals.
Okay, so then I just had a couple follow-ups on enforcement orders. So 14 Hamlin's Crossing, that restoration plan was due back in November. And I think we had sent reminder letters out. We've gotten nothing. And I'm concerned this work really probably should be done in the spring. And we've gotten nothing. So I would suggest maybe an additional reminder letter.
And what was the scope of, so there was an enforcement order issued?
Yeah, so they did substantial clearing and then the people responsible sold the home and new owners inherited this. They went for COC and I discovered all this clearing. And so there are two parties involved that the enforcement order was issued to. And it required a restoration plan back in November. This goes back to.
Did we get any feedback from their an engineer or anybody associated with that for?
Joyce was hired to do the work.
Okay.
But the deadline was in November.
And has anybody been in touch with Joyce?
I've talked to her about it numerous times and she keeps saying, oh, you'll get it next week. And that's.
Okay. It seems to me, Lori, can you give, well, bye. Can you contact Joyce about this and let
I'm
her
not
know
saying
that?
goodbye. I was looking for my file.
Yeah,
So
no,
contact Joyce.
I contact Joyce and let her know that we will consider at the next meeting voting to start issuing fines.
I ride through there all the time. Right now, I'm not riding there because my horse has been gone since December, but I daily used to ride through there and they have not done anything. I mean, that's since December. So
No, I think we would have heard from Joyce because they're gonna have to have a plan to do, you know, of something there. But no, it's just they're not paying attention and we need to get their attention.
Right.
Okay.
So
Go ahead,
95
Jen.
Street, there was some concern about water issues. The individual was going to send us a letter, a detailed letter, and then maybe come to a meeting. We haven't heard from.
Was that the is that the house that was built behind the gas, that had the easement over the gas line?
Yes.
Who's
So
not
I
on Center Street? Where
I
is
think we
that
said,
from?
so it's as you drive down Center Street and the gas line goes across it, on the left side going out towards Medfield, there's a gas condensing or pumping station. That's part of the easement there. And somebody had to, they came in front of us. We did a site visit. It was a TV newscaster or something, I can't remember. And they put their road down the easement and then went over somebody else's property until they got to their property. And there was a wetland that they crossed. And we saw there, I believe it's the house to the right of that, behind them, has sump pumps that run 24 hours a day. And we saw the water issuing across the front there, and we asked how they were going to handle that. And apparently that's become, I'm not surprised that that's become an issue there.
And what were they, so they were doing some pumps out of the wetlands, so they
No,
were
there was a
basements?
house, there's a yellow house that was remodeled around 10 years ago that's right up by the street there. There's a lot behind that, and in order to access that lot, their property actually includes the easement, the gas line easement. And so there was a question as to whether or not they could actually put a driveway over the gas line easement, which was answered affirmatively, but then they got an easement from the neighbor to be able to scoot over once they got there. That area, there's a yellow house on the street. Closer to Medfield, there's another driveway that goes up way behind there, and there's a house up there.
Oh, I
That
know
house,
exactly. I know
yeah,
exactly.
that
Okay.
house had, we saw pipes that, went for, I don't know, a couple 100 feet, and then we're issuing out into this wetland area. And there was a question is, what happens if you put a driveway there and you increase the berm there? Is that going to create a flooded area? And it would seem that it does. I'm not exactly sure. Janet, the folks who were complaining about that, which property are they? Are they on the right or the left? Oh, unmute, please.
We haven't gotten detailed information from them. I haven't been out
Oh,
site visit because they were gonna send us some detailed information, so.
okay, okay.
We issued a COC for the new house.
Yeah.
That seems to be.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess we wait for them to send that information out? Is that what you're looking at, or do you want to contact them?
No, I did contact them and I said, we'll await your information and then we'll go.
Okay, okay.
Valley Farm, Jim had a question on that, so I have to reach out to Kevin to deal with that. The next item was, and I had sent this out on the 3rd, a request from the Charles River Watershed for support for another grant. And this is to handle invasive management work in the Charles River, with the goal being developing a strong volunteer base to do hand removal, no herbicides. So this is a grant. They just want our support for applying for the grant to look at invasives throughout the Charles River. No cost to us, no time or effort, just our support. So
This seems kind of cohesive with I know the Charles River is different than the pond, but it seems the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it ties in. Yeah, it ties in with that.
Ties
Yeah.
in, like, it's just like, we're all talking about the same thing.
Right. And more, there's, I don't know if you've heard about the precautionary principle, but these individuals from Solitude, they're in the business to sell chemicals primarily. That's where they get the bulk of their.
Well, I had my hand raised up and then I put it down, but didn't we hire Solitude to do hail? Like,
Or Hale hired Solitude, right?
oh, hail hires, okay, so that's
No,
when.
well, it was it was instructive to this evening. They mentioned that they have the ability to address invasives using a variety of different methods. So their job is to handle invasives.
Right.
And so they have the equipment to do it, by machinery as well. So we'll see whether or not they, as they expand their rationale. let's
But
see.
it was interesting to me tonight, they just said, we've done Channing Pond and this
Mhm.
pond, like, they didn't bring up Hale. And so I almost like,
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah.
so I raised my hand and then
Mhm.
it was Anna and then Janet said something and I was like, then I raised, like, I was like, okay, they didn't bring up Hale
Okay.
at all.
Which I
So
believe Hale was chemical.
No, so I'm gonna do a little more research there, but what we were granted, it was a larger pond. It was more complicated because there's a swimming beach.
Right, I remember this whole thing, but I didn't want to like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to screw them up and also didn't want to bring the whole meeting longer, but I just was like, I remember that was my first or second year of being on the Concom. It was like when Solitude came about Hale and the whole
Mhm.
pond about like what they're gonna do to Hale.
Yeah. No, and then they've been in front of us since then because that expired and they came through for
Right.
another plan.
There's what they submitted in their NOI and what we approved was a true integrated invasive management plan. They did there's hand pulling of spot areas.
See, I remember, you guys think I'm quiet and I don't remember stuff, but I do remember, like, I should have said something, but I just was like,
No, I appreciate the thought process is recognizing that it was going longer than we expected it to and not wanting to bollocks that up.
Right.
Jan, was it Solitude?
I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, we can double check, but
I would say 99% in my mind, it was Solitude.
so I mean I think that's a great point because if they had their act together and they did the one for them, they'd know how to do it. So, we'll
And also not to bring this, but why is Chris Lake, who's my neighbor down the street, and Fred Lane getting so pissed off?
because they've done it that way it's pristine. They've done it that way for years and they kind of understand why we're asking additional questions.
It's, I also, frankly, my mother used to play in that pond as a child in the 1930s. It was not a swamp and it's not new that it's like that.
No,
And
no, absolutely.
the people that had it, I was there before Fred bought that house and it was perfectly fine when.
Well, that was my point. That
was
was my point to Chris near the end, which was, no, it's been that way for a long time.
It's been it's been that way for 100 years or more. It's been that the Lymans, when they built the house where they added to the farmhouse I think it's the old farm pond from the house that Fred lives in, that the Lymans expanded as part of the, all these toffs coming out from Boston to Hunt and turning these farmhouses into mini mansions, just like my great grandparents did across the street at 81 Farm. So, it's have been increased. But it was a farm pond.
No,
it was a pond. It was a pond that everyone swam in.
No, and it's so we'll get an expansion
anyway.
on their application, and then that will we'll
No, I did write to Jen, and she's Sally's boss, so she'll.
Oh, excellent! No,
Sally on it, or she'll get whoever is in charge of keeping an eye on Chase on it.
No, I thought that was an excellent point too, to bring it up, and it may have been a required notification to trustees. So
there should have been a required notification to trustees, and if both the CR and as an abutter.
So, well, they may have been notified as an abutter. I don't know what their internal
As I told Janet, the 74 Farm is now in a real estate trust, and Chris is not the trustee.
That's appropriate, actually.
But hold on. I thought Chris was 72. Is he 74?
He's 74 and Fred is 72.
No,
Oh,
if you,
okay.
if
I
you, if you want to
apologize then.
do, if you want to do it correctly and use the trust for what it's supposed to be, as a beneficiary, you have a different trustee. You don't
Yeah,
always,
well,
you know.
I'm not convinced actually that Chris is still the owner.
Mhm.
'Cause I heard
Mhm.
rumors that somebody else had bought the property from him, but
Well, it's not,
Yeah.
not for us to conjecture in the
it's not,
public forum.
no, but I mean, what I mean is that the signature that's on the application is not currently the correct one.
We
for-
don't know, so we can,
Yeah.
we can ask that, but we'll, anyway,
When
moving
he
on to.
submitted it, it was correct, but is no
I
longer
see. Fine,
the
so
deeded
we'll,
owner.
we'll,
74.
let's get a revised report first, because there
Yeah.
are other people involved, and then we can, see what we have to do.
Just wanna make sure.
Janet, you were gonna mention stormwater?
Does the commission support this grant for the Charles River watershed so we can add our name to that?
Yes, I thought we, or do we add our name to something else?
Yeah.
That we,
Added your name to something else at the last meeting, yes.
yeah, okay, so, okay, I'll entertain a motion to support the stormwater, the Charles River Invasive Plant Management Project. This is at no cost to us, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, okay.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, all in favor? Amy,
aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Great. Stormwater management, that went out early,
Yes,
early this month?
that actually went out at the end of January.
Okay,
So it's, if you have insomnia, this is your solution. So it's really
And
not,
I don't, okay.
Yep.
it's, there's a lot in this and I'm doing a review. And so for the next meeting, I'll come back with comments. But it does indicate, so it divides it into major projects or minor. A major
Mhm.
project is work, any tree clearing or ground clearing, grading on an acre or more. I think that's about almost every lot in Dover.
Mhm.
But it now brings us in for review of a major project. But it doesn't explain what we are to do. The DPW is the major enforcement and administration body for this. So I have a meeting with Kevin McCabe and some of the other land use departments, and we're going to go through this more clearly. But this is going to be fast tracked for town meeting. And I'm not sure if we're going to have an agreed upon bylaw, but anyways, if any of you have concerns or questions, if you have a chance to look at it, just get those to me. And
So does it deal with trees in the right of way, do you know? Or just trees in general?
No, it's trees it protects trees on private property. Yeah.
Interesting.
Not
Under the guise of water table issues or things or
under the guise of stormwater management, improving,
Okay.
preventing runoff, preventing flooding. Yeah. So, there'll be more on that. And then the last thing is, the Chestnut Street Bridge. They continue to monitor that. There has been no detection of any additional release, but they do have protective absorbent booms still in the river. And I'm not sure when that's going to open. I think under DEP and the Mass Contingency Plan, they have a long road of monitoring ahead. So,
So as you know, we all live in Dover, but I grew up in, like, my parents' property was right on the Needham Dover line. So I go to Needham all the time. That's how I go to Roaches and blah, blah, blah. And I am like astounded by the booms that the Clean Harbor has been doing. I mean, it is a big deal.
Yeah.
And they're going all the way down Chestnut Street too. Like, I mean, I know that the unit was right under bridge, but then I think it's still affecting all the way down Chestnut Street. So, I mean, Janet, you probably know more, but like it's, yeah.
Yeah, we should be getting a report soon from DEP, but I'm not sure how much of that is a preventative investigation, and so I think they're just being extra cautious, but I don't think that road's gonna be completely open for quite a while. And then just the last thing, I bumped into Mark, the director at Park and Rec, and he had indicated that Park and Rec may come before the Concom at some point before town meeting, because they have a warrant article on reviving the rail trail. And
Oh,
Interesting.
yeah,
No, they're coming in
there's an actual
that
warrant
way.
article. Oh,
Wow.
so is there a private group that's handling that, or is it Park and Rec that's leading that?
Wow.
Well, they probably need a warrant article to change the warrant article that was voted last time in order to even start pursuing looking at it as a Park and Rec project, right?
Well, the MBTA lease and so forth, but no, it's the first I've heard of it, because frankly, I've been using a lot of other rail trails because we don't have one. And they're lovely, and every town I've been in loves them. We now have a 30-year history of like no negative effects on on property values or any of that sort of stuff. And I question dropping $10 million on something like Hale when we don't get anything for it, other than the other intangible
You
things.
get a lot
No,
of trails.
no, I know, but
Yeah.
many of which, sometimes I have to get in a car and go there for them. But let me just finish, okay?
No, and
I will redress
Amy's
that.
gonna get in your face if
We
you do
clearly get many things from Hale, okay? But what we don't have is a flat place for people to just go ahead and walk. I live across from, I use Nuana virtually daily. There's there's hardly a flat place in there. All these other
I'm not
towns.
arguing with you about needing
So
rail
here's
trail
my
also.
point. $10 million for Hale because we can make Powissa Street look nice, but maybe something should be linked for the town, because I think $1 million for a rail trail, in terms of return on what residents get, is we get a much greater return on that than we do for
$1 million isn't going to get you a rail trail.
It comes really close. It was, but the last budget was well under that. The
last budget was about 2 million, and it's been what?
The main point I'm making there is that the town was always requiring a private individual party to handle the rail trail, and yet it is such a benefit to all these other towns. I think the town should step up and pay for that.
I'm not saying that. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just disagreeing with your price tag, because they said they could raise $1 million. The price tag came in around 2.8, as far as I remember, and that
remember the same
was
thing, Amy.
a number of years ago. So you'd have, judging from what happened with Carroll Community Center, I would say you have to at least double, probably triple that number to end up with the actual number. And that's only from the center of town to Medfield.
Well, I know, and I think that, well, we'll see. It's the first I've heard about it's the first I've heard about Park and Rec. I'm gonna call Mark. I want to find out.
I'm not against doing it. And if we do it with our own highway department, the way that Medfield did, it will cost a lot less than it was going to cost, but it is still a lot more than it costs Medfield or Needham, because we have most of the distance.
But I will say, and I know we all want to go to sleep, but I was the only one on Concom, because I was the first, I think that was my first year. I was the only one who was against the rail trail, and had nothing to do with me being involved with the hunt club. But I remember saying to Tim, because Tim was pissed at me, he said, "What do you mean you're against it?" I said, "I lived in the Back Bay. I was on the Esplanade. No one got along. I have to say, I ride on the rail trail right now. I walk, blah, blah, blah. It can work. My attitude of extending from Medfield to Dover has changed. It can work.
Great. No,
So I'm a believer.
good. Well, you can help Mark with the proposal.
Well,
the,
I don't want to get involved for a minute.
No, I'm just kidding. But
it
no,
can work.
I think many people have come to that realization, especially as they become more prevalent and they have a chance to walk on them.
I walked it today. I walked it
yeah.
today with an 82-year-old friend of mine, and we did the 2-mile walk. And I said, let's look for my rakes, because I have manure rakes, because everyone was like, we don't want poop on the, manure on the. So I put up rakes, and we looked for the rakes, and they were still there. So we all can get along. We all can make it work.
Good, excellent. Is there anything else, Janet?
That's it.
Okie doke. Anna.
One thing I forgot, heard from town council, they're still working on the warrant article language in mostly doing title searches, and should have something for me to send around next week. So I will do that.
Great. For the Concom taking possession of those things. Great. Thank you. I saw those emails. I appreciate it. Lori, did you have anything to add other than good night? Well, thank you, folks. This is yeoman night, and I really appreciate it. Let's all do less of it 2 weeks from now. Okay, so hearing no objection, this evening's meeting is adjourned. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.